Princess Su Tangyu of Great Yang was reborn. The first thing she did after her rebirth was agree to marry the Prince of Northern Di in half a month, as part of the peace alliance. The second thing, she knelt before the Buddha statue and kowtowed 999 times, making 3 wishes. Buddha above, I am grateful for this second life. First, may the marriage alliance proceed smoothly, and may the people of Great Yang live in peace. Second, may I cut off all ties with my family and my fiancé, Shen Lingmo. Third, may my fiancé Shen Lingmo and his beloved Su Yaoyao be together forever. Growing old in mutual devotion, by the time she finished speaking, her forehead was swollen and bruised, but she didn't utter a single complaint. In her previous life, she had stubbornly refused the marriage alliance, eventually marrying Shen Lingmo as she wished, only to be utterly abandoned by everyone. When news of Su Yaoyao's tragic death in Northern Di, after being sent there as a substitute bride, reached Great Yang, Shen Lingmo personally forced her to drink the poisonous Qianji wine, which corroded her intestines and stomach, leaving her to die in agony. That pain was unbearable. In this new life, she dared not want Shen Lingmo anymore. After making her wishes, Su Tangyu stumbled out of the Buddhist hall, supporting herself against the wall. As soon as she looked up, she was blocked in the corridor by her fiancé, Shen Lingmo. You look terrible. Finally learned your lesson from falling into the water. If you dare to deliberately spill tea on Yaoyao again, I'll kick you into the lotus pond to soak until you come to your senses. His words cut like cold wind, making Su Tangyu shudder. She had been reborn exactly on the day Shen Lingmo kicked her into the lotus pond, and Su Yaoyao, the woman Shen Lingmo spoke of, was originally an orphan handpicked by the Empress Dowager to take her place in the marriage alliance with Northern Di. After 2 lifetimes, Su Tangyu looked at the Crown Prince's heir, once the man she loved with all her heart, and felt no trace of affection. She only asked faintly, "What are you doing here?" Shen Lingmo looked surprised. "Why aren't you clinging to me and crying about being wronged like you usually do?" Su Tangyu gave a bitter smile, pulling her thin cloak tighter around herself. Crying only mattered if someone cared, but in reality, her world had changed forever since Su Yaoyao entered the palace when she was 12. Clearly, she was the true princess of Great Yang. Yet every time she clashed with Su Yaoyao, she had to back down, giving up her palace chambers, yielding her princess title. Whenever something happened to Su Yaoyao, it was always her fault for being jealous and spiteful. Her explanations were dismissed as unrepentant lies. Her world had long been reduced to just herself. Seeing Su Tangyu standing in the wind, her delicate frame seeming ready to be blown away, Shen Lingmo frowned and coughed awkwardly. "Since you know you're wrong, hand over the engagement jade pendant I gave you. Give it to Yaoyao as an apology." Yaoyao really likes the pattern on that pendant, but Su Tangyu knew Su Yaoyao didn't care about the pattern. She simply loved snatching things that belonged to her. This trick had played out countless times in her previous life. When she didn't respond, Shen Lingmo's brows furrowed, his voice turning cold. "But it's just a lifeless object. 2 years ago, you almost killed Yaoyao. Now she's even willing to marry in your place. Can't you be more generous and let her have? Take it." Su Tangyu unfastened the jade pendant from her waist and held it out, cutting off Shen Lingmo's words mid-sentence and leaving him blushing with frustration. Ignoring his reaction, she walked back to her quarters alone. It was already evening when she returned to the princess's palace. Before she could even drink a sip of hot water, her maid-in-waiting told her to copy Buddhist scriptures. This rule had been personally ordered by the Empress Dowager, who once doted on her. She had claimed that Su Tangyu's fate was incompatible with Su Yaoyao's. Whenever Su Yaoyao felt unwell, she had to copy scriptures to atone for her sins. It wasn't until late at night that Su Tangyu finished copying 100 volumes of atonement scriptures. As usual, she took the scriptures to the West Palace, Su Yaoyau's residence, but as soon as she arrived, She heard Su Yaoyoro's soft sobs coming from inside. Lingmore, hold me tight. Let me feel you completely. I love you so much. I agreed to marry in her place, but I don't want to give my body to a barbarian in half a month. You gave me your engagement pendant. Does that mean you like me too? Take me. Please be my first man. Su Tangyu froze. Through the crack in the door, she saw Su Yaoyoro was only wearing her undergarment, straddling Shen Lingmore's lap. Shen Lingmore's eyes were bloodshot as he grabbed her slender waist, kissing her frantically like a beast. Yes, remember me. Remember all the pleasure I give you. Their intertwined figures stabbed at Su Tangyu, filling her with nausea. She looked away and fled as fast as she could. Unexpectedly, after walking only 100 meters, she ran into her elder brother, Crown Prince Su Qian. Su Qian's eyes were dark. Tangyu, you must have seen it too. Lingmore and Yaoyoro are truly in love. 2 years ago, you almost cost Yaoyoro her life. Now you're giving her Lingmore as compensation. We're even. That's enough. Su Tangyu stared at him coldly, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Don't worry, since I've agreed to the marriage alliance, I won't pester Shen Lingmore anymore. I won't let your precious Yaoyoro suffer any grievances. Once she left completely, she would no longer be an eyesore to them. Pleased by her sudden sensibility, Su Qian said reassuringly, don't be sad. Northern DI has ceded 8 cities to marry you and promised never to invade our borders. They clearly value you highly. We won't be stingy with your dowry. You'll live a life of luxury there. He spoke as if she was the one gaining an advantage, unable to hold back. Su Tangyu retorted sharply, brother, do you know that in the Northern DI royal family, brothers share the same wife, and even fathers and sons, grandfathers and grandsons? Do you really think that's a life of luxury? Su Qian's face stiffened, losing his confidence. At least you'll never want for food or clothing. With that, he hurried away, watching his hasty retreat. Su Tangyu asked one last question, her voice soft. Brother, do you still remember that before I was 12, I was your favorite sister? Su Qian's footsteps paused for a moment, but he kept walking, apparently not believing she could truly let go of Shen Lingmore. But it didn't matter. Family love, romantic love, she no longer had any expectations. In this life, she would no longer cling to things that didn't belong to her, nor rely on anyone else. She would live for herself, and by herself. Exhausted from the day's events, she fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, Su Tangyu was woken by a commotion. Walking out of her palace, she saw Shen Lingmore feeding Su Yaoyoro sweet soup in the courtyard, while Su Qian was ordering servants to move the dowry that had just been delivered to her palace. What are you doing? Su Tangyu stood at the palace gate, her voice cold. Seeing her, Su Yaoyoro immediately clung to Shen Lingmore, her eyes red with tears. Sister, I really like that coral tree in your dowry. Can you give it to me? After speaking, Su Qian continued with his orders, as if she hadn't said anything. Shen Lingmore put down the soup bowl and ordered Su Tangyu matter-of-factly, if Yaoyoro wants it, give it to her. She's marrying in your place. Can't you bear to part with such a small thing? Su Tangyu laughed angrily. In her previous life, they had used Su Yaoyoro's impending marriage alliance as an excuse to force her to hand over all her dowry. Now, in this life, they wanted her to compromise again. She glanced at Su Qian, who knew the truth perfectly well. A princess's dowry is a matter of great Yang's dignity. Do you want Northern DI to laugh at us? Su Qian averted his eyes, refusing to answer. Shen Lingmore, however, grew impatient. If you know we can't let Northern DI mock us, then why are you wasting time? Just give Yaoyoro whatever she wants. Su Tangyu gave a self-deprecating smile. Do as you please. After all, since her rebirth, she had never expected them to stand up for her or offer any help. She turned to enter the palace with a cold expression. But just then, a palace maid hurried in. Your Highness, the marriage alliance document has arrived. Su Tangyu paused, about to turn around to receive it, but Shen Lingmore snatched it first. He flipped it open casually, and the next moment, his shocked roar echoed across the courtyard. Su Tangyu, why is your name on the marriage alliance document? The courtyard fell deathly silent. Su Tangyu stared at Shen Lingmore's trembling hands. Confused for a moment, she sneered sarcastically. Why do you look like the sky is falling? Didn't you always pity Su Yaoiro's frailty? Now that I'm the one marrying, shouldn't you be happy? She would never forget the ferocious look on Shen Lingmore's face when he forced her to drink the poisoned wine in her previous life. Su Tangyu, why isn't it you marrying? Yaoiro's dead, she's always been afraid of being alone. Go down and accompany her, apologize to her, and atone for your sins. Now, who was he putting on this act for? Before Su Tangyu could say more, Su Qian hastily interrupted. Su Tangyu, can't you speak nicely? Lingmore, don't listen to Su Tangyu's nonsense. Yaro is just a substitute bride, naturally. Her name can't be on the document. With one sentence, Su Qian covered up the truth again. Shen Lingmore was about to say something, but Su Yaro suddenly clutched her chest, her face turning pale. Lingmore, I can't breathe. I think my illness is acting up again. Can you take me to see the imperial physician? Upon hearing this, Shen Lingmore immediately forgot everything else, picked up Su Yaro, and hurried out. Su Qian followed anxiously. The bustling courtyard suddenly emptied. Su Tangyu was already used to this. In her previous life, Su Yaro had often used this trick to compete for favor. At first, she had felt wronged and lost her temper, but all she got was scolding. Everyone said she was not magnanimous enough to tolerate Su Yaro. She had cried silently under the covers at night, heartbroken and wronged, but now, she only calmly ordered her servants to send all the things Shen Lingmore had given her back to the Marquis of Zhengguo's mansion. When it was time to cut ties, she cut them clean. In this life, she would have no more involvement with Shen Lingmore. In the days that followed, Su Tangyu kept herself busy. She studied Northern Di's customs, climate, and language. Time passed quickly. One morning, just after breakfast, Shen Lingmore arrived again with Su Yaro, as expected. Su Yaro came to demand something. I'm sorry, sister. The Empress Dowager saw how much I liked your wedding dress and gave it to me as a gift. You'll have to have a new one made. Shen Lingmore echoed. Yaro is marrying in your place, far away from home. It's just a wedding dress, let her have it. It was exactly the same as her previous life. Su Tangyu smiled sarcastically. If the Empress Dowager has spoken, how could I refuse? She glanced at Shen Lingmore, then sneered at Su Yaro. There are many valuable things in my dowry, Su Yaro. If there's anything else you like, just say so boldly. I'll let you have it all. Shen Lingmore felt uncomfortable hearing this. He couldn't help but think her gaze was strange, as if what she was giving up wasn't things, but him. He frowned and retorted, no need for you to give anything. I'll buy Yaro whatever she wants. With that, he was about to take Su Yaro away, but Su Yaro suddenly acted coquettishly. I have some private girl talk to share with sister. Lingmore, wait for me outside. Shen Lingmore was pushed out of the palace, leaving only Su Yaro and Su Tangyu inside. Su Yaro finally dropped her innocent act, showing off triumphantly. Sister, I heard that when you were 10 and fell ill, Lingmore knelt in the temple all night to pray for a Buddhist bead bracelet to ward off disasters for you. Look, does mine look like it? She held a delicate jade amulet in her hand, waving it in front of Su Tangyu. This amulet was obtained by Lingmore kneeling up 18,000 steps for me. Isn't it much more sincere than yours? You must be so unwilling. Right, how pitiful. Now, even Lingmore's visits to you depend on my charity. Tell me, who is the real princess? And who is the orphan substitute bride? Su Tangyu knew Su Yaro was deliberately provoking her, but all her jealousy and heartache had been exhausted in her previous life. She continued reading her book, not even lifting her head. Before leaving, Su Yaro threw down a threat. Keep pretending to be calm. I'll see how long you can keep this up. That night, A moon-gazing banquet was held in the palace. As a princess, Su Tangyu attended, but her eyelids kept twitching, filling her with unease. She was about to leave when Shen Lingmo suddenly rushed over and grabbed her hand. "Did you steal the amulet I gave Yao Yao?" The master said only wearing it close to her body can cure her illness. "Are you trying to kill her by taking it? What are you talking about?" Su Tangyu struggled to break free. Su Yao Yao also rushed over, dropping to her knees and crying, "Sister, I know you love Lingmo desperately. You stole the amulet because you're jealous that he prayed for my safety. But it's the thing that keeps me alive. Please give it back to me." Everyone at the banquet turned to look at Su Tangyu. Enraged, Su Tangyu pushed Shen Lingmo away. "I didn't take it. As the legitimate princess of Great Yang, I would never stoop to theft." But before she could finish, Su Yao Yao suddenly rolled her eyes and fainted. "Yao Yao," Shen Lingmo caught her. His eyes red with worry, Su Tangyu's brows furrowed. Sure enough, the next moment, Shen Lingmo glared at her fiercely. "You say you didn't take it. Fine, then we'll search you." Su Tangyu stepped back in horror. "Shen Lingmo, are you crazy? Great Yang values a woman's chastity. Searching me in public, are you trying to ruin me? I am the legitimate princess of Great Yang. Who dares to search me?" The guards hesitated to step forward, but Shen Lingmo let go of Su Yao Yao, walked toward her with a cold expression, grabbed her shoulders, and tore at her clothes. "If the guards don't dare, I will." Rip. Her palace dress was torn open, revealing her undergarment. Su Tangyu's snow-white skin was exposed to everyone's eyes. Blood rushed to her head, but no one stepped forward to help her. She clutched her undergarment to her chest, staring at Shen Lingmo through tears. "You will regret this." Her grief-stricken, bloodshot eyes suddenly made Shen Lingmo's heart skip a beat. At that moment, someone suddenly exclaimed, "Why did a jade amulet fall out of Princess Yaoyoro's sleeve?" There, on the ground, was exactly the amulet Su Yao Yao had shown off earlier. But the damage was done. Su Tangyu's dignity was completely shattered. Su Tangyu tiredly pushed Shen Lingmo away. "You found the thing. Can you let go now?" Shen Lingmo came to his senses, fumbling to wrap her clothes around her. "I'm sorry. I was just too worried about Yao Yao." Crown Prince Su Qian also hurried over, but only said, "This matter ends here. I will order everyone not to speak of what happened at tonight's banquet." Su Tangyu didn't wait to hear him finish. She turned and left. She knew perfectly well that Su Qian was ending this farce not to protect her, but to safeguard Su Yaoyoro's innocence. Everyone in the palace was sharp-witted. A little thought was enough to see that this was a frame-up staged by Su Yao Yao herself. The bright moon hung high overhead. The path back to the princess's palace felt longer than ever before. Su Tangyu walked alone, tilting her head back to hold back the tears stinging her eyes. There was no need for sorrow. She had long since given up hoping for so-called family love or romantic affection. After the moon-viewing banquet, rumors spread that Su Tangyu had lost her chastity, making her the laughingstock of the capital. Su Tangyu shut herself indoors, focusing wholeheartedly on preparing for her marriage alliance to Northern Di. Shen Lingmo never came to see her again. Until the 23rd day of the 12th lunar month, the little new year of the Great Yang dynasty, Su Tangyu left the palace to purchase books and medicinal herbs for her journey to Northern Di. As soon as she reached the palace gates, she saw Shen Lingmo helping Su Yao Yao onto a carriage. Su Yao Yao leaned against Shen Lingmo like a boneless creature, smiling triumphantly. "Sister, did you follow us specially after hearing that Lingmo is taking me out of the palace?" Su Tangyu immediately turned to walk the other way, but before she could take 2 steps, Shen Lingmo suddenly grabbed her wrist. "Where are you running? You secretly followed us anyway. Why are you throwing a fit now? If you want to come, just come. Didn't I always let you cling to me before, no matter how shamelessly you begged?" Without another word, he dragged her onto the carriage and took her to the marriage temple outside the palace. At the marriage temple, beneath the marriage tree, Colorful lanterns blazed brightly, and the tree was covered with red silk strips inscribed with oaths of eternal love. Once, Shenlingmore had brought Su Tangyu here to make a devout wish. I, Shenlingmore, swear to heaven, in this life, I will only protect Su Tangyu, only love her, until death do us part. But now, Su Tangyu turned around, only to see Shenlingmore kneeling before the marriage tree with Su Yaoyao, performing a wedding ceremony, first bow to heaven and earth, second bow to the marriage bond. Finally, the couple bowed to each other. Su Tangyu watched silently, neither crying, smiling, nor making a fuss. After the ceremony, Shenlingmore turned around and saw her, as if only remembering her existence at that moment, rarely leaving Su Yaoyoro's side. He took the initiative to walk over to her, explaining guiltily, "Tangyu, I know we're betrothed, but Yaoyao wanted to experience what it's like to marry as ordinary people. I just wanted to fulfill her wish before she leaves for her marriage alliance." Su Tangyu cut him off before he could finish. "I understand, you just want Su Yaoyao to have no regrets, to be husband and wife once. I get it." Shenlingmore froze, his sword-like eyebrows furrowing in surprise. "You're not angry?" Su Tangyu let out a soft hum and tied the red wish silk she was holding to a branch. Shenlingmore stared at her calm face. She didn't look like she was pretending, but before, she would get jealous if he even said a single extra word to Su Yaoyao. An inexplicable feeling stirred in his heart. Uncomfortably changing the subject, he asked, "Tangyu, what wish did you make?" Su Tangyu finished tying the red silk. "I already made it. On the first day she was reborn, she had prayed before the Buddha. First, may my marriage alliance go smoothly. Second, may I cut all ties with my family and my fiancé, Shenlingmore. Third, may my fiancé, Shenlingmore, and Su Yaoyao be together forever, growing old in harmony." After paying homage to the marriage tree, night had fallen. Su Tangyu intended to return to the palace, but Su Yaoyao grabbed her arm. "Sister, I heard the lighthouse in the Western Market is beautiful. Will you come see it with us?" Su Tangyu wanted to refuse, but Shenlingmore said, "Yaoyao is rarely in such a good mood, don't spoil it." She was taken to the lighthouse. The wind was strong tonight, and the dozens of Zhongtao lighthouse swayed precariously in the gale. "Lingmore, look how beautiful it is." Su Yaoyao acted coquettishly, ignoring the occasion. Su Tangyu stared at the towering lighthouse and instinctively wanted to step back, but just as she lifted her foot, someone shouted, "The lighthouse is going to collapse, run." Su Tangyu reacted by stepping back, but suddenly Shenlingmore slammed into her. "Yaoyao, let's go." He didn't even glance at Su Tangyu, protecting Su Yaoyao and fleeing without looking back. In the next second, with a deafening crash, the lighthouse came crashing straight down toward Su Tangyu. Unable to dodge, she could only raise her hands to shield herself. A wave of heat surged over her, and searing, tearing pain spread through her body in an instant. She fainted from the agony, consumed by intense pain. Su Tangyu sank into complete darkness. In her stupor, her memories became jumbled, as if she had returned to before she was 12. Her grandmother would hold her and say, "Tangyu is grandmother's most precious little princess, the most noble lady in the entire Great Yang dynasty." Her elder brother, the crown prince, would build her swings with his own hands. "Tangyu, brother will protect you for the rest of my life," because she had mentioned wanting to see maple leaves. Shenlingmore had secretly had dozens of mu of land on the outskirts of the capital replanted with maple trees overnight, only to be chased and beaten 10 streets by the Marquis of Zhonghua. To be able to marry her, he had gone to the battlefield at a young age, conquering 5 cities in a row as his betrothal gift. He had sworn to her, "We grew up together, a match made in heaven. I will never let you suffer grievances in this life. You will never regret marrying me." She didn't know how long she had been unconscious. Su Tangyu woke up to the sound of commotion. Through blurred vision, she heard her elder brother shouting angrily, "Hurry, fetch the best imperial physicians to treat Tang Yu. She heard her grandmother crying, save Tang Yu at all costs. Su Tangyu felt dazed, thinking she was still dreaming, but in the next moment, she heard her grandmother sob, if something happens to Tang Yu, Yaro Yaro will have to take her place in the marriage alliance again. Issue the order, Tang Yu must be cured. Even though she had resolved not to care about them anymore, those words pierced her heart like a sharp knife. She fainted again. When she woke up once more, dawn had broken, her body smelled of medicine, and both her arms ached as if torn by fire. As soon as she opened her eyes, she saw Su Yaro Yaro sitting at a table not far away, surrounded by Shen Lingmo and Su Qian. Su Yaro Yaro said in a delicate voice, "I'm fine, sister is hurt too, Lingmo. Elder brother Crown Prince, go take care of her. It's all my fault for insisting on seeing the lighthouse. I got sister hurt." Shen Lingmo wiped the sweat from Su Yaro's forehead. "Yaro Yaro, this isn't your fault. You were more frightened, of course we'll take care of you first." Su Qian echoed. "She has palace maids attending to her. We only need to worry about you." Su Tangyu listened quietly, then suddenly laughed, a laugh that stung her nostrils with bitterness. At the sound of her laughter, Shen Lingmo and the others finally noticed she was awake. Shen Lingmo was the first to step forward, feigning concern. "How are you? Does your body still hurt?" Every inch of Su Tangyu ached, but unlike before, when she would burst into tears at the slightest pain, she simply shook her head. Shen Lingmo didn't pay it much mind and changed the subject. "While you were unconscious from your injuries, coupled with that incident with the jade amulet earlier, there are rumors in the capital that Yaro Yaro tried to harm you. She's been very upset about it. Tomorrow is the great Yang dynasty's sacrificial day. We'll clear up the rumors then. You'll climb the star-picking tower during the sacrifice and personally tell everyone that Yaro Yaro is kind and pure. Clear her name, don't let these rumors ruin her reputation." Su Tangyue's heart turned icy cold at his words, but Shen Lingmo was informing her, not asking for her opinion. The next day, despite her unhealed injuries, Su Tangyu was dressed and taken to the star-picking tower. The star-picking tower had once been built specially for her by her grandmother to pray for her blessings. Later, because Su Yaro Yaro had mentioned liking it, it had become her exclusive property. Su Tangyu had never been allowed to set foot there again. When she reached the top floor, Su Yaro Yaro was already waiting for her. Dismissing the palace maids, Su Yaro Yaro revealed her true colors. "Su Tangyu, look, your grandmother, your brother, your fiancé, they all only care about me now. So what if you're a noble princess? You're still going to marry into Northern Di and become a woman shared by many men. I'll kindly take over all your glory and wealth. As for you, you've lost your chastity, you have no family left, and you'll have to serve a bunch of barbarians. If I were you, I would have myself long ago." Listening to each vicious word, Su Tangyu didn't feel as sad as she had expected. "I won't die. If no one loved her, she would love herself." Su Yaro Yaro snorted coldly when she saw Su Tangyu still refusing to admit defeat. "We'll see about that." With those words, Su Yaro Yaro rolled her eyes and fainted. "Yaro Yaro, Su Tangyu, what did you do to her this time?" Shen Lingmo suddenly rushed up the wooden ladder, lifted the limp Su Yaro Yaro in his arms, and raced downstairs. Su Qian followed closely behind, raising his hand to slap Su Tangyu hard across the face. "You never learn. You dared to hurt Yaro Yaro again. If anything happens to her, you'll pay for it with your life." Su Tangyu clutched her swollen cheek, the pain numbing her senses. She didn't even bother to defend herself. Her own family treated her more cruelly than the hated barbarians of Northern Di. Su Tangyu counted down the days until the marriage alliance. Only 4 days left, and she would never have to see these so-called family members again. She slowly walked back to the princess's palace, her hands trembling with pain, but before she could apply medicine to her wounds, Shen Lingmo burst in, grabbed her hand, and dragged her toward the West Palace. "Yaro Yaro is unconscious and coughing up blood. It's all your fault." The sorcerer said only your flesh and blood can save her. Come with me now to atone for your sins. Su Tangyu was dragged into the West Palace. Palace maids knelt on the floor, and Su Yaoyao lay on the bed. Her face pale as a sheet. Slap. Su Qian rushed forward and slapped her again. Su Tangyu, you've harmed Yaoyao time and time again. How could I have such a vicious sister? Su Tangyu turned her head, her cheek swelling rapidly. Before she could say a word in her defense, palace maids forced her to her knees and sliced open her arm with a sharp blade. Ua! Su Tangyu cried out in agony, her face draining of color, but no one showed her the slightest pity. After drawing her blood, Su Tangyu was forced to kneel outside the palace, copying Buddhist scriptures in the freezing snow. It was the 12th lunar month, and the wind and snow cut to the bone. Su Yaoyao didn't wake up all night, and Su Tangyu copied scriptures the entire time. Early the next morning, as soon as the scriptures were taken away, Shen Lingmo grabbed her eagerly, ignoring her ashen face, and dragged her into the room. Your flesh and blood really worked. Yaoyao woke up. She heard you gave her blood and prayed for her all night. She's grateful and wants to thank you in person. Su Tangyu had endured pain and exhaustion for a whole night, her face as white as a ghost. She was pulled to Su Yaoyao's bedside. Su Yaoyao, however, looked ruddy and healthy. When she saw them enter, she immediately threw off the quilt and pretended to get out of bed to kneel. Sister, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have made you give your blood and copy scriptures all night. I should have woken up sooner. Before she could finish, Shen Lingmo pushed Su Tangyu aside, lifted Su Yaoyao into his arms, and laid her back on the bed. You're not well, how could you kneel? Su Tangyu is strong. She can stand the cold, don't worry about her. Su Yaoyao snuggled into Shen Lingmo's arms, shooting a triumphant glance at Su Tangyu. Suddenly, she spoke in Lingnan dialect. Lingmo, don't hold me in front of sister, she'll get angry. The maid said you held me all night while I was unconscious. Su Tangyue's hands tightened into fists. She heard Shen Lingmo reply in the same dialect. It's fine. If she wants to be the Marquis's wife, she shouldn't be so jealous. Su Yaoyao smiled even more brightly. Lucky sister doesn't understand Lingnan dialect otherwise. She'd be angry at your words again. She glanced at Su Tangyu with a sneer as she spoke. Su Tangyu said nothing. Once, she really hadn't understood Lingnan dialect, but Shen Lingmo's ancestral home was Lingnan. In her previous life, desperate to fit into the Shen family, she had secretly learned it. Then, she heard Su Yaoyao say boldly, Lingmo, stay with me tonight. Make love to me as many times as you want. Okay. Su Tangyu froze, staring at Shen Lingmo. His Adam's apple bobbed. Are you feeling better? I can never get enough of you, I just worry you can't take it. Su Tangyu could stand it no longer. Suddenly, she spoke in fluent Lingnan dialect. Shen Lingmo, does it amuse you to cheat on your fiancé and betray your morals? The room fell deathly silent. Shen Lingmo jumped up in panic. Tangyu, what are you saying? You can understand Lingnan dialect. His face shifted between guilt and unease. Su Tangyu suddenly felt extremely bored. She lied. I heard you say that phrase before. I was curious and wanted to ask what it meant. So you don't understand? Shen Lingmo let out a sigh of relief, then frowned in annoyance. Don't speak nonsense if you don't understand. I'm concerned about Yaoyoro's health. Your interruption scared her. I'll teach you Lingnan dialect when I have time. Then you can join our conversations. Su Tangyu suppressed her sarcasm. No need. I'll never go to Lingnan. It would be useless to learn it. If she was going to learn any dialect, it should be Northern DIs. Shen Lingmo didn't insist. He tucked Su Yaoyoro's quilt gently, then turned to Su Tangyu. Yaoyao had tonic soup made this morning. You should drink a bowl too. You worked hard last night. Su Tangyu didn't care for his trivial kindness. If there's nothing else, I'll go back to my room to rest. She was certain that if she drank Su Yaoyoro's tonic, she'd be poisoned to death. Her refusal made Shen Lingmo's face turn cold again. What's your problem now? You're deliberately making yourself look pale and pitiful just to get our attention. Why are you being so stubborn? So, after enduring a night of pain and kneeling, she was just faking pity in Shen Lingmore's eyes. Su Tangyu smiled bitterly. Don't worry, from now on, I won't need your concern anymore. She would never have any expectations of them again. From this day forward, she would rely only on herself. Su Tangyu stumbled back to her bedroom. Shen Lingmore sent someone with wound medicine, but she didn't touch it. She fell into a deep sleep. When she woke up groggy the next morning, Shen Lingmore sent men to drag her to the hunting ground, saying Su Yarrow wanted to hunt one last time before leaving for the marriage alliance in 2 days. When Su Tangyu arrived, she saw Shen Lingmore and Su Qian flanking Su Yarrow, gently helping her mount a docile horse. Yarrow, don't be afraid, Prince Qian and I will protect you. That's right, Yarrow, even if you fall, your brother will catch you. They're gentle. Attentive gestures made Su Tangyu's heart ache for a moment. When she was a child, they had surrounded her like this, teaching her to ride a horse hand in hand, but now, those warm memories were blurred beyond recognition. Su Tangyu looked away, pushing the thoughts aside, but Su Yarrow clearly wasn't done with her. She smiled coquettishly. Lingmore, Prince brother, aren't you going to compete in hunting? Go ahead, I'll stay with sister. I'm sure she'll take good care of me. With that, Shen Lingmore glanced at Su Tangyu. Since Yarrow wants you to stay with her, take good care of her. No one cared about Su Tangyu's opinion. At Su Yarrow's insistence, the two rode off side by side. As soon as they were out of the men's sight, Su Yarrow's expression changed. Su Tangyu, don't think Lingmore sent you wound medicine because he cares about you. Do you really believe he wouldn't kill you without hesitation for me? A chill ran down Su Tangyu's spine. Then she saw Su Yarrow take her embroidered needle and stab it sharply into her horse's head. Nay, the horse reared in pain. Su Tangyu was jolted violently, barely able to hold onto the reins, before she could react. Su Yarrow rolled off her horse, screaming, Lingmore, Prince brother, help. Su Tangyu's heart sank, a bad premonition washing over her. In the next instant, 2 arrows shot toward her and her horse, aiming for their vital spots without mercy. Thud, the sharp arrows pierced flesh. Su Tangyu fell from the horse, crashing heavily to the ground. Before her consciousness faded to black, she saw Shen Lingmore and Su Qian drop their bows and rush toward Su Yarrow, competing to be the first. Yarrow, are you okay? Did you get scared? Yarrow, you scared me to death. What would I do if something happened to you? Su Tangyu was abandoned once again. The people who should have been her closest family and lover were the cruelest to her. She didn't know how long she lay there before waking up again. Shen Lingmore was unexpectedly guarding her bedside. When he saw her wake up, he immediately leaned over to help her. How do you feel? You've been unconscious for a whole day. Yarrow is leaving for her marriage alliance tomorrow morning. I'm sorry. Yarrow can't stand being frightened. I was afraid the horse would scare her badly, so I acted on impulse and shot you. Yarrow is going to marry into Northern DI. Nothing can happen to her. Her health is the most important thing. You understand me, right? You've suffered so much this time. The Empress Dowager has also set our wedding for tomorrow. After we marry tomorrow, I'll make it up to you, okay? Su Tangyu looked at him quietly, then suddenly smiled weakly. Shen Lingmore, there's no future for us. Shen Lingmore didn't hear clearly. What did you say? Su Tangyu shook her head. Nothing. Tomorrow, he would marry Su Yarrow. And she would leave for her marriage alliance. Once everything was settled, neither family ties nor love would bind her anymore. She was certain that in this life, she would have a new beginning. Shen Lingmore left soon after, and no one came to see Su Tangyu until the morning of the marriage alliance departure. Early morning, Su Tangyu put on her makeup in the faint dawn light, changed into her wedding dress alone, and walked out of the palace hall, passing the West Palace. She caught a glimpse of her grandmother and Su Qian beside Su Yarrow, one combing her hair with her own hands, the other helping her put on her clothes. They looked so happy. Su Tangyu didn't stop. Continuing to walk outward, she met Shen Lingmore again in the corridor. He was dressed in a wedding robe, his brows and eyes smiling, breathtakingly handsome. But when he saw her, he froze in confusion. Tangyu, it's not yet the auspicious hour. Why did you come out alone without waiting for the crown prince to send you off? Or are you eager to become my bride? Su Tangyu hid the sarcasm in her eyes and shook her head. No one is sending me off today. I have to board the wedding sedan chair alone. Shen Lingmore completely missed her meaning. He even tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and persuaded, I know you're wronged. The Empress Dowager and the Crown Prince are also distressed that Yaro Yaro has to go to Northern Di. They can't bear to see her marry alone, so they haven't had time for you. He took her hand and promised, Tangyu, after we marry, I'll ask to lead troops to conquer Northern Di on the border. In at most 3 years, I'll bring Yaro Yaro back. From then on, the three of us will live well together. Su Tangyu stared at Shen Lingmore for a long time without answering. Tangyu, thinking she was distracted, Shen Lingmore patted her. All right, go back to your room and wait for the auspicious hour. I still need to check on Yaro Yaro in the West Palace. With that, he hurried away. Su Tangyu watched his figure disappear before turning her gaze away. On this day in her previous life, she had resorted to all kinds of tricks to marry him, firmly believing he would be her home for the rest of her life. But she never imagined that his heart had always belonged to Su Yaro Yaro. All he gave her was humiliation and scolding. After Su Yaroiro's death, he even made her pay with her life. Su Tangyu took a deep breath and turned toward the palace gate. In this life, she had no choice, but she would live well without relying on anyone. Today was New Year's Eve, and the lanterns at the palace gate had been hung early. The bright, dazzling lights illuminated 2 wedding sedan chairs parked side by side inside the palace walls, one on the left and one on the right. Su Tangyu walked straight toward the sedan chair, but a palace maid stopped her and asked, Your Highness, won't you wait for the Empress Dowager and the Crown Prince to bid them farewell? Su Tangyu's footsteps paused. Once, when talking about her marriage, her grandmother had said she would send her off for 10 miles. Su Qian had even promised to carry her onto the sedan chair personally, just like in commoner weddings, to give her supreme honor and dignity. But now, they were probably all with Su Yaro Yaro, too busy to care about her. Su Tangyu brushed aside the memories and smiled faintly. No need for farewells, let's depart directly. As she spoke, there was suddenly a commotion behind her. Turning around, she saw Su Yaro Yaro lying on the Crown Prince's back, while her grandmother, dressed in heavy, elaborate robes, walked forward step by step with tears in her eyes. Yaro Yaro, don't be afraid. Grandmother will always be with you. Yaro Yaro, no matter who you marry, your elder brother the Crown Prince will always be your backer. They made a grand display as they walked. Finally stopping beside Su Tangyu, in front of the 2 sedan chairs, standing on red silk, Su Yaroro's eyes glistened as she bowed to each of them. Grandmother, elder brother Crown Prince, don't worry, I will be happy. After bowing, she stood up and walked toward Su Tangyu, leaning close to her ear. She whispered triumphantly, so only the 2 of them could hear. I heard the barbarians in Northern Di like to share wives between fathers and sons, to boost morale. They even send their wives to military camps for the soldiers to amuse themselves with. I hope you can endure such suffering and live a few more years. I'll enjoy all your blessings for you from now on. Her tone was full of malice, but Su Tangyu acted as if she hadn't heard a word. She was the legitimate princess of Great Yang, never a useless fool. Once, she had been hurt only because she cared about family love and romantic love. Now, she cared about no one but herself. Neither Great Yang nor Northern Di could hurt her anymore. Su Tangyu turned around and boarded the sedan chair, instructing the palace maids to depart, but she heard Shen Lingmore's urgent voice shouting, Tangyu. She turned her head to see Shen Lingmore striding over to the sedan chair. He spoke to her gently, Tangyu, I need to send Yaro Yaro off first. I'll hurry back as soon as possible. You go to the Marquis of Zhengguo's mansion first. Su Tongyue's eyes dimmed. In her previous life, Shen Lingmo had also gone to send Su Yaoyao off. When the auspicious hour for their wedding arrived, he never showed up. She had to go through the entire wedding ceremony alone, enduring endless ridicule. But in this life, since he was finally marrying the woman he loved, he would presumably not break his promise again. She smiled. From now on, you can do whatever you want. No need to worry about me. After all, once the sedan chair departed, they would never see each other again. Seeing her smiling, completely unbothered, Shen Lingmo felt a strange twinge in his heart. It was as if once Su Tangyu turned around, she would leave him forever. But how could that be? Su Tangyu's reputation had been ruined when her clothes were torn in public. She had refused the marriage alliance. Who else could she marry besides him? She had no choice but to wait for him. Shaking off his unease, Shen Lingmo stared at her and said solemnly, I promise this will be our last separation. Be good and wait for me to come back and marry you. Su Tangyu nodded. Yes, our last separation. Congratulations on our wedding. Without her standing in the way, he and Su Yaoyao would surely marry smoothly. From now on, they would each marry their own spouses and have nothing more to do with each other. Shen Lingmo was about to say something else when Su Yaoyoro's voice came from the other sedan chair. Lingmo, where are you? He immediately replied, I'm here, Yaoyao. I've been by your side the whole time. He turned to hastily tell Su Tangyu take care on the way before rushing toward Su Yaoyoro's sedan chair. Watching his retreating figure, Su Tangyu smiled a light, relieved smile. She whispered, Shen Lingmo, I wish you and Su Yaoyao eternal love and a long, happy life together. As for her, it was time to fulfill her mission. The sedan chair set off, and the sound of gongs and drums echoed. The sedan chair circled the capital 3 times. Filled with excitement, commoners lined the streets to watch, chatting about the princess's wedding procession. Their faces filled with envy and excitement. In the end, one sedan chair headed for the Marquis of Zhengguo's mansion, while the other traveled toward the barren lands of northern Di. Years would pass, and they would never meet again. As night fell, at the Marquis of Zhengguo's mansion, Shen Lingmo stumbled into the bridal chamber after enduring round after round of toasts. Just as he reached the door, Crown Prince Su Qian pulled him aside, rambling on, Shen Lingmo, I'm marrying my dearest Yaoyao to you. If you ever betray her, don't blame me for punishing you severely. Shen Lingmo rubbed his throbbing head, confused. Your Highness, are you muddled? I'm marrying Tangyu, not Yaoyao. Su Qian froze, releasing him guiltily. Go inside, don't keep my sister waiting. Shen Lingmo was pushed into the room, stumbling slightly. For some reason, an uneasy feeling surged in his chest. He quickened his steps toward the bed instinctively, gazing at the bride sitting upright. Shen Lingmo let out a sigh of relief, his eyes softening. Tangyu, we're finally married. Are you happy? But the bride remained seated, silent and motionless. Shen Lingmo leaned down, reaching out to her with a smile. Why aren't you answering me? Are you jealous because I visited Yaoyao this morning? I promised you before, after our official wedding, you'll be my only wife. At that moment, he lifted the red veil. Beneath the bright red wedding canopy, the bride's face was revealed, her features painted with rouge, as delicate as a lotus bloom and as graceful as willow brows. The flickering red candlelight danced in Su Yaoyoro's eyes, revealing her scheming thoughts. Though she heard Shen Lingmo still thinking he'd married Su Tangyu, she wasn't worried. She unconsciously grasped the wedding tokens scattered on the bed, a victorious smile spreading across her face, her heart filled with joy and shyness. Finally, she was married to Shen Lingmo. They had bowed to heaven and earth, and become husband and wife. Wealth and happiness were now within her grasp, but her smile faded as soon as it appeared, replaced by shock at Shen Lingmo's stunned question. Why is it you? Where's Tangyu? At that moment, the unease in Shen Lingmo's heart reached its peak. He dared not think where Su Tangyu could be. Could she have already left for Northern Di to fulfill the marriage alliance? Su Yaoyao looked up. Meeting the man's eyes, filled with surprise and a hint of panic, she smiled, reaching up to wrap her arms around Shen Lingmore's neck coquettishly. Brother Lingmore, today is our wedding day. I've finally married you as I wished. Are you happy? Let's consummate our marriage now. Before she could finish, Shen Lingmore pushed her arms away roughly. It was the first time he'd spoken to her with such coldness. Explain, what's going on? How could you marry me? Then who will go to Northern Di? Su Yaoyoro's smile froze. She hadn't expected that even now, Shen Lingmore's top concern was still Su Tangyu. Clearly, she had stolen all the love and affection that should have belonged to Su Tangyu. Even Shen Lingmore, in their intimate moments, had said he already regarded her as his wife. Yet he still refused to let Su Tangyu go to Northern Di alone. Resentment welled up in Su Yaoyoro's heart. She had tasted the sweetness of being cherished by this tall, handsome man. How could she let him go back to Su Tangyu? A determined glint flashed in her eyes as she took Shen Lingmore's hand in her delicate fingers. Her little finger traced circles on his palm, her gaze fluttering. Brother Lingmore, can you really bear to let me marry into Northern Di? Shen Lingmore's eyes darkened. He grabbed her wandering hand, his tone softening significantly. Don't be unreasonable, I can't bear it either. But there's no other way. Don't worry, I'll come to fetch you soon. The guards and maids I've prepared will protect you well. Moreover, to ensure your safety in Northern Di for 3 years, we've arranged for exclusive guards and imperial physicians who will only answer to you. Tangyu has nothing, she'll be in great danger if she goes. You're the better choice. Su Yaoyao could barely maintain her smile. She looked up at him with wounded eyes. Brother Lingmore, do you still like Sister Tangyu more? Shen Lingmore stroked her hair gently. Be good. Tangyu will still be your sister, and will take care of you together. With that, he turned to leave, intending to send Su Yaoyao away. Perhaps this was just a joke Su Yaoyao was playing because she couldn't bear to part with him. It was okay, the marriage alliance carriage probably hadn't gone far. He could go fetch Su Tangyu back. But just as he lifted his foot, there was a knock at the door. Opening it, he found Su Qian standing outside, seeing Su Yaoyao in tears. Su Qian shot her a reassuring look, then pulled Shen Lingmore aside to explain. Yaoyao said she wanted to enter the Shen family's door before the marriage alliance. How could I refuse her such a small wish? It was my decision to not disappoint her. Don't blame Yaoyao. Don't worry. The marriage alliance has been delayed for a day. Tangyu is still in the palace. You can see her tomorrow. Tonight is your wedding night. Don't let Yaoyao down. Hearing that Su Tangyu was still in the palace, Shen Lingmore felt relieved. He was about to head to the palace to see her when Su Yaoyao, noticing his expression, clung to him desperately. Brother Lingmore, we've already bowed to heaven and earth. Let's consummate our marriage first. It's my last wish. Brother Lingmore, haven't we already confessed our feelings to each other? You said yourself that if there were no engagement, you would definitely marry me. I've dreamed of marrying you every night these days. Anyway, I'm already yours. Don't you want me to become your wife openly and honorably? Su Yaoyoro's eyes filled with tears as she clung tightly to Shen Lingmore's hand. A wedding night only comes once. Let's not miss it, okay? Seeing her crying pitifully, Shen Lingmore hesitated. Seizing the opportunity, Su Qian said deliberately, enough. You know how much Yaoyao cares about you. Stay with her tonight. I'll go back to the palace to take care of Tangyu. Tomorrow, when you and Yaoyao return to the palace, you'll see her. She won't disappear. Before Shen Lingmore could refuse, Su Qian turned and left, closing and locking the door behind him. Hearing the sound of the lock clicking, Su Yaoyoro's face lit up with joy, her eyes glistening with desire. She wrapped her arms around Shen Lingmore from behind, her voice soft and tender. Brother Lingmore, stop thinking about others. Just tonight, let's focus on each other. I want to conceive your child. The next morning, Su Yaoyao and Shen Lingmore, now officially newlyweds, returned to the palace to offer tea to the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager was overjoyed. Helping Su Yarou up personally and fussing over her, Shen Lingmo watched, a strange feeling stirring in his heart. He hadn't slept all night, his mind occupied with thoughts of Su Tangyu. He wondered if she was heartbroken when she heard about his marriage to Su Yarou, how she had spent the night, and when he would see her again. Even though Su Qian had assured him that Su Tangyu was still in the palace, he couldn't shake the unease. Until he truly married Su Tangyu, he had an inexplicable fear of losing her, and he couldn't lose her. After the tea ceremony, Shen Lingmo took Su Yarou's hands in his voice low. Yarou, it's getting late. I'll send you to the capital gate. You should leave for the marriage alliance as soon as possible. He couldn't delay his marriage to Tangyu any longer. Moreover, marrying Yarou first had already humiliated Tangyu. She would become the laughingstock of the capital. He had long promised that once Tangyu married him, she would never suffer any grievances again. He couldn't put it off any longer. Upon hearing this, a dark glint flashed in Su Yarou's eyes. Today, to celebrate. The Empress Dowager had invited many noble ladies from the capital to congratulate her on her wedding. She wouldn't let the guests laugh at her in public. Noticing that Shen Lingmo's gaze kept drifting toward the door, as if searching for Su Tangyu, she suddenly went weak at the knees and fainted. Yarou, what's wrong? Send for the imperial physician immediately. The palace descended into chaos. Shen Lingmo didn't care about anything else. He lifted her up in his arms and carried her into the inner chamber. Su Yarou remained unconscious for an entire day. During that time, everyone hovered around her. No one paid any more attention to the wedding, nor did anyone have the mood to attend to the guests. It wasn't until Marquis Shen, who had waited in vain for his new daughter-in-law to offer tea at the mansion, sent someone to inquire that he learned Su Yarou had fainted again, and his son had stayed with her and not returned. So he sent someone to fetch Shen Lingmo. Young master, the Marquis says that once the new wife enters the mansion, she may take charge of the household affairs. From now on, the Marquis's mansion will be handed over to the princess. Shen Lingmo froze, finally remembering what day it was. Tangyu hasn't entered the mansion yet. I also forgot to tell her the wedding has been postponed again. How is she now? I need to see her. Yarou couldn't depart for the marriage alliance immediately, and his wedding with Tangyu had been delayed repeatedly. After all, he had wronged her. Overwhelmed with guilt, Shen Lingmo didn't wait for the servant's reply and rushed straight to Su Tangyu's palace. Passing the Eastern Palace, he unexpectedly heard Su Qian talking to his subordinate. Su Qian's tone was calm and composed. Tell Yarou that I've ordered the carriage convoy to hurry. If we delay for 10 days, he'll never catch up. The subordinate bowed to receive the order, hesitating slightly. But Your Highness the Crown Prince, news just came from the Northern Di royal court. Their old king is seriously ill, and the political situation is chaotic. Sending the princess there now is really not a good choice. Aren't you worried? Su Qian raised his eyebrows in surprise, but still dismissed it casually. I've prepared plenty of guards and money for her, and I've also instructed the generals on the border to look after her. If something still happens despite all that, it's just her fate. Shen Lingmo's footsteps suddenly stopped. The noise alerted Su Qian, who turned around and came face to face with Shen Lingmo's furious gaze. I always thought you cared about Yarou the most. You could never bear to see her suffer. Now that you clearly know something's wrong in Northern Di, how can you coldly send her into a den of tigers and wolves? Shen Lingmo roared with anger, but Su Qian let out a sigh of relief. He had thought Shen Lingmo had found out that it was Su Tangyu who was going for the marriage alliance. Having seen how crazy and precious Shen Lingmo had been to Tangyu in the past, Su Qian was afraid he would drop everything to chase after her. Su Qian thought that since Yarou had entered the palace, Tangyu had become more and more unruly. As a dignified princess, she had repeatedly resorted to underhanded tactics to harm Yarou. It was because they had spoiled her too much. She wouldn't restrain herself unless she suffered some hardships. This marriage alliance must not be disrupted. So he said, "Why are you in such a hurry? With Yaro in her current state, she can't go for the marriage alliance anymore." Shen Lingmo was about to say something else when Su Yaoiro's voice came from behind. "Lingmo, elder brother crown prince, what's wrong?" The two turned around to see Su Yaoyaro approaching. Looking pale and delicate as a willow branch in the wind, Su Qian and Shen Lingmo immediately forgot their dispute, rushing to support her and asking gently, "Why did you come out? Didn't the imperial physician tell you to rest well?" Su Yaoyaro had heard from the servants that Shen Lingmo had left in a hurry, so she had chased after him. Glancing at the two men's expressions, she said, "You're worried about the marriage alliance, aren't you?" "I'm sorry, it's my poor health that's holding Great Yang back. Although Sister Tang Yu poisoned me and ruined my health earlier, I shouldn't have been so afraid of not being able to survive in Northern Di, or cried to you about not wanting to take her place. If Sister Tang Yu were here right now, I would definitely tell her that I'm willing to go in her stead. It's the least I can do." Upon hearing this, Su Qian and Shen Lingmo were filled with heartache. Su Qian became even more determined to let Su Tangyu suffer a little. As for Shen Lingmo, just as Su Yaoyaro had hoped, he felt a surge of dissatisfaction towards Su Tangyu. He lifted Su Yaoyaro into his arms, his warm chest comforting her cold body as he carried her back to the inner chamber. "This isn't your fault. The marriage alliance is the princess's responsibility. Tang Yu is unreasonable and jealous that you've gained our attention, which is why she's made you suffer all this. Focus on getting better, don't think about it anymore." That night, Shen Lingmo didn't return to his own courtyard, and he no longer paid any attention to Su Tangyu. No matter what, she would eventually enter the Shen family's gate. They would have plenty of time to get along in the future. Right now, accompanying Su Yaoyaro was the most important thing. For the next 5 days, Su Yaoiro's condition fluctuated. Shen Lingmo stayed in the West Palace to take care of her, and Su Qian never left her side either. Early one morning, a stray cat wandered into the palace, meowing several times and waking Shen Lingmo. A heavy snow had fallen for the new year, but no one in the palace was in the mood to celebrate because of Su Yaoiro's illness. The palace maids had been negligent and hadn't kept an eye on the stray cats, allowing their meows to add a touch of liveliness to the silent palace. As Shen Lingmo watched the cat looking around curiously, he suddenly remembered that Su Tangyu had also loved cats. Once, the palace had been filled with cats, all of them Su Tangyu's beloved pets. But after Su Yaoyaro entered the palace, having finally overcome her timidity, the first request she made was that she disliked cats and asked if they could all be sent out of the palace. The Empress Dowager had agreed to Su Yaoiro's request, and all the cats had been driven away that night. He had watched as Su Tangyu's eyes turned red with tears, and on an impulse, he had kept a few cats at the Marquis's mansion. Later, he had even brought them along as part of his betrothal gifts. Wanting to surprise her, he wondered if Su Tangyu had seen them, if she had liked them. Lost in thought, Shen Lingmo unconsciously found himself outside Su Tangyu's palace. Seeing a palace maid sweeping the courtyard, he asked, "Has Princess Tangyu woken up yet?" The servant was stunned by the question. "Young master, Princess Tangyu is no longer in the palace. Could you be mistaken?" Shen Lingmo frowned, pointing to several exquisite wooden birds in the courtyard and the magnificent, brightly lit palace lantern hanging on the wall. "Tangyu hasn't changed a thing in her palace. How can you tell me she's not here?" He remembered that exquisite palace lantern. It was the one he had made by hand for Su Tangyu's 10th birthday. It had taken him half a year to finish. Leaving countless cuts on his hands, Tangyu had held his hands and cried in distress, ordering him never to make such things again. But back then, he had said, "You have beautiful clothes, delicious food, and countless treasures, but none of them compare to the sincerity behind my gifts. For you, I will always put my heart into everything." He and Tang Yu were meant to be together forever. Following his gaze to the palace lantern, the servant suddenly realized, "Young master, that lantern was only moved back on New Year's Eve. I heard that half a month ago. Princess Tang Yu sent all her things back to the Marquis's mansion. Princess Yao Yao liked them very much, so she told the mansion's servants to move them back on New Year's Eve." Shen Lingmore froze, finally recalling that he had indeed received a report half a month ago saying Su Tangyu had sent many things to the Marquis's mansion. At the time, he had thought she was eager to marry him and had sent her belongings in advance. He had felt a sense of superiority and condescension, casually telling the servants to put them away to avoid her making a fuss. When Su Yao Yao had said she liked them, he had casually agreed to give them to her. But now, seeing these things placed in Su Tangyu's palace, a faint sense of unease crept into his heart. That unease deepened even more when he entered the palace and searched every room, only to find no sign of Su Tangyu. Shen Lingmore strode towards the Eastern Palace, wanting to see Crown Prince Su Qian and demand answers. As soon as he arrived at the Eastern Palace, he heard loud laughter. It was Su Qian and Su Yao Yao joking around, sounding extremely joyful. Shen Lingmore slammed the door open, grabbed Su Qian by the arm, and dragged him outside. He blurted out his question, "Where is Tang Yu?" Su Qian's expression stiffened. "Why are you suddenly asking about Tang Yu? Shouldn't you be more concerned about how Yao Yao is feeling?" Before he could finish, Shen Lingmore cut him off. "I'm asking about Tang Yu." There was a hint of trembling in his voice. He swallowed hard, staring intently at Su Qian. "Is Tang Yu still in the palace?" Thinking back to all the signs on New Year's Eve, he had a vague answer that he dared not fully acknowledge. He wanted confirmation that Su Tangyu was still safe in the palace, still waiting for him to marry her. Hadn't he and Su Yao Yao performed the wedding ceremony on New Year's Eve? Perhaps upon hearing the news, Su Tangyu had simply hidden in anger, refusing to appear until she received his apology. That must be it. Su Tangyu had always had a fiery temper. She couldn't stand the slightest injustice. After a long silence, Su Qian said with difficulty, "Yes, she's still in the palace." Joy erupted in Shen Lingmore's eyes. He couldn't contain his eagerness. "Then I'll go find her now. I'll search every corner of the palace gates until I find her." He turned to leave, but Su Qian grabbed his arm. Their eyes met, and Shen Lingmore's expression gradually darkened. His eyes were bloodshot from the intense emotional upheaval, a precursor to near madness. Su Qian's brows jumped. He grabbed Shen Lingmore tightly, urging, "Don't be angry. Didn't you volunteer to fight Northern DI? In at most 2 or 3 years, you can bring her back. Right now, we need to focus on Yao Yao." As he spoke, Su Qian forcibly pulled Shen Lingmore towards Su Yao's East Palace, hoping she could calm him down. But just as they reached the door, they heard Su Yao Yao speaking in a low voice to someone. "Why did it take you so long to reply? Tell me, did the men you sent to kill Su Tangyu succeed?" Both men froze, unable to believe their ears. A shrill voice replied, "Your Highness, the men were dispatched, but we haven't received word yet. Why are they so slow? If Su Tangyu doesn't die, how can I win Brother Lingmore's whole heart?" Upon hearing this, Shen Lingmore and Su Qian could no longer contain their anger. The door was kicked open with a crash. Su Yao Yao, leaning against the bed and talking to an unfamiliar young eunuch, jumped in fright. Seeing the two men storming in with fury in their eyes, a flash of panic crossed Su Yao's face before she composed herself. "Lingmore, Prince Brother, what are you doing here?" Su Qian's face was dark with anger. "What did you just say? You sent someone to harm Tang Yu." Su Yao's eyes filled with tears. "Prince Brother, what are you talking about? How could I harm sister? I was just reading a storybook with the palace maid. I mentioned sister's name only because I'm jealous that Lingmore loves her more than me. I couldn't help venting my frustration. Brothers, look at me, I'm an orphan with no one to rely on in the palace. How could I possibly order someone to hurt her? Beside her, There was indeed a storybook placed on the bed. The young eunuch was also insignificant. He hadn't even risen to the rank of a minor supervisor in the entire palace. Su Qian and Shen Lingmo were half convinced. Seeing this, Su Yaoyao clutched her chest, her face turning pale again. Lingmo, Prince brother, if you don't believe me, feel free to investigate. Which of my personal maids or anyone I've met would help me? Her appearance reminded them of when she first entered the palace, a trembling young girl standing under everyone's scrutiny, not knowing who to turn to for help. Their hearts softened. We don't disbelieve you. Don't overthink it. We know you're not capable of such things. Watching them revert to their usual concerned expressions, Su Yaoyao lowered her eyes, a fleeting look of triumph crossing her face. After tucking Su Yaoyao into bed, Shen Lingmo and Su Qian left the room one after another. As soon as they were gone, Su Yaoyao opened her eyes immediately, waving for the young eunuch who had stayed behind to approach. This time, instead of speaking, she wrote a few words in his palm. If you can't kill her, fake her death. The eunuch nodded slightly, opened the door, and openly asked a servant from the Marquis's mansion to send him back to the Empress Dowager's palace. Putting on an innocent act, outside, the two men walked side by side along the corridor for a few steps before Shen Lingmo suddenly said, "The imperial approval for my request to lead troops has come through." Su Qian fell silent, finally responding with a faint hum after a long pause. Growing up together, Shen Lingmo and Su Qian knew each other deeply. They both realized that at the thought of Su Tangyu possibly being linked to death, their hearts were filled with unease. Now, they just wanted to see her alive, and well, only then could they be at peace. Shen Lingmo felt even more remorseful. He had originally thought that Tangyu wouldn't dare to go through with the marriage alliance. When Northern Di first proposed the marriage, the Empress Dowager had entrusted him with the task of investigating Northern Di. He knew these barbarians well. They only respected the strong, had no sense of morality, and treated women like slaves and prostitutes. He had told Tangyu all this in detail, scaring her so much that she had nightmares for nights on end, crying and asking if he could marry her sooner. So why had she left for the marriage alliance without a word? Doubts swirled in his mind, but Shen Lingmo vaguely had an answer. Tangyu must have found out about him and Su Yaoyao. She loved him so deeply, and her eyes couldn't tolerate a speck of dust. Once she learned of his infidelity with Su Yaoyao, it wasn't impossible for her to give up in despair and agree to the marriage alliance out of spite. After listening to his speculation, Su Qian fell silent for a long time. Finally, he said, "Tangyu has a fiery temper. A little hardship will do her good." Upon hearing this, Shen Lingmo suddenly looked up, staring at Su Qian. After a moment, he took a step back and knelt heavily on the ground, his voice hoarse. "This humble general swears, within 3 years, I will bring Princess Tangyu back to Great Yang. Otherwise, I'd rather die on the battlefield in northern Xinjiang." Looking at his resolute expression, Su Qian sighed and nodded. "Very well. Bring Tangyu back safely. She's suffered enough, only then will she know to cherish everything we've given her." On the other side, along the marriage alliance route, it was New Year's Eve. Towns and post stations along the way were decorated with lanterns and colored streamers, and everyone's faces were filled with joy. Su Tangyu watched with mixed emotions, relieved that the people were living in peace, yet melancholy at the thought that she might never see her homeland again. She didn't linger in her emotions for long. After smiling softly, she summoned the accompanying officials and generals one by one, asking each of them for their names and specialties. Regardless of their rank, she was preparing for her plans in Northern Di. To her surprise, among the entourage, there was a military general and a palace maid who treated her with extraordinary respect and obedience. "When I was young, my family was an official in the capital," the general, Lu Jiao, replied firmly when Su Tangyu asked about their devotion. 10 years ago, we were wrongfully implicated in a corruption case involving the Minister of Justice and sentenced to death. It was your highness back then who read our petition, pointed out the flaws, and saved my entire family. Beside him, the palace maid Baiju nodded in agreement. She was clearly part of the same family that had been rescued, grateful for their lives. Their lifelong wish was to repay Su Tangyu. When they heard she had resolutely agreed to the marriage alliance, they volunteered to follow her without hesitation. We can never repay your highness's great kindness, they said in unison. We can only offer our loyalty and protect your highness with our lives. After being surprised, Su Tangyu let out a sigh of relief. Although she was well informed about Northern Di's current situation, to gain a foothold and live freely, she needed reliable people by her side. Otherwise, she would be powerless alone. With the loyalty of these two, she wouldn't be without trusted confidants. The further north they traveled, the heavier the snow became, and the road grew increasingly difficult. It took the marriage alliance caravan a full month and a half to finally reach the Northern Di royal court. At this time, the royal court was already preparing for the funeral of the dying elderly prince. Although he was still alive, he couldn't move. His 3 sons had already begun to fight for power, plunging the court into chaos and internal strife. Su Tengyu's arrival made her another prize to be contested. The men sent by the eldest prince were arrogant, addressing her as princess but staring at her with lecherous eyes, like wolves eyeing meat. They laughed loudly. Princess, rest for now. Once our eldest prince finishes his business, he'll come to attend to you. Ha ha ha. General Lu Jiao was so angry he almost drew his sword, but Su Tangyu stopped him. The men sent by the second prince were less presumptuous. They only bowed slightly and comforted her. Princess, rest well. No matter the outcome, within 6 months, you will be the princess consort. Just wait patiently. Su Tangyu nodded slightly, saying nothing, and turned her gaze to the third prince. The third prince had come in person. He stared at Su Tangyu in admiration for a long time before smiling and saying, Princess, don't worry. Since Northern Di has asked for your hand in marriage, we won't let you suffer. If anything happens, you can come to me. The 3 sides had different attitudes, but all were determined to win Su Tangyu, for whoever married the princess of the marriage alliance would be recognized as the new king of Northern Di, inheriting the late prince's wealth and the right to rule over the entire kingdom. Though Su Tangyu was nominally married to the elderly Khan, she could only let them fight over her. Worse still, if Northern Di split apart and the 3 princes waged war against each other, her best fate would be to become their shared wife, imprisoned in the central royal tent like a mere object. After the Northern Di envoys left, Su Tangyu fell into a long silence. Bijou couldn't contain her anxiety and asked, Your Highness, what do you plan to do? Should we take the initiative to defect to the third prince? Su Tangyu snapped back to her senses, shook her head, and smiled. No, right now, I want to see the elderly Khan. That evening, inside the tent, Su Tangyu met the elderly Khan in her capacity as his future wife. On the bed lay a man nearly 60, his face as haggard as withered wood. An unpleasant stench of medicine filled the air, making people instinctively cover their noses. Yet Su Tengyu's gaze remained calm as she looked at the bed. I, the princess, can cure the plague afflicting Northern Di. As soon as she spoke, the elderly Khan suddenly sat up. His gaunt face was dominated by a pair of sharp eyes, fixed intently on Su Tangyu. What did you say? Su Tangyu smiled and repeated her words calmly, then asked, Khan of Northern Di, do you want to live? Our Khan has actually recovered. Today, he even walked out of the royal tent to accept the allegiance of all the chieftains, big and small. That's not all. I heard the Khan publicly honored the great young princess, gave her countless servants, let her live freely in the royal city, and even let her choose who to marry. What an honor! I wonder how beautiful the great young princess is to have enchanted the Khan so thoroughly. Don't talk nonsense. I heard this princess brought divine medicine from Great Yang that can cure our plague. What? Are you serious? Our plague can be cured? The rugged northern Di people never knew how to speak softly. Their noisy chatter echoed from tent to tent, making it impossible to find peace. But Su Tangyu had grown accustomed to it. She stood quietly by the desk, listening to the excitement outside sparked by the cure for the plague. In her previous life, when Su Yaoyao had married into northern Di, Shen Lingmo had always tried his best to inquire about news from there, and had also received letters from Su Yaoyoro's attendants. She had thus learned a great deal about northern Di, including this plague. In her previous life, northern Di had ultimately gone to war with Great Yang. Firstly, because the plague had spiraled out of control. After the elderly Khan's death, the three princes had contracted the disease one after another, leaving northern Di no choice but to march south to plunder medicinal herbs, sacrificing countless lives in the process. Secondly, because Su Yaoyao, despite bringing imperial physicians and medicinal herbs with her, had refused to let them treat the sick. When this was discovered by those with ulterior motives, she had been brutally killed. And northern Di and Great Yang had completely torn up their alliance. Reborn, Su Tongyue's first priority was to end the plague and delay the elderly Khan's death. If northern Di fell into internal chaos with no one able to control everyone, they would inevitably march south to plunder Great Yang while vying for power. She would not allow that. Now that the Khan had recovered, she could move on to her second plan. Su Tongyue's gaze turned to another man in the tent, the second prince of northern Di. Tall and handsome, he had a gentle look in his eyes. When holding a book, he looked more like a scholar from Great Yang. It was said that he loved Han culture more than anything else. Sensing her gaze, the second prince smiled. "You have so many books on Han culture here. Could it be that you also read?" Su Tangyu replied plainly, "Naturally I can read. In fact, I know more than you do. But I've heard that Han women don't read, they have no knowledge or insight." The second prince had several Han scholars around him, and having heard much about Great Yang's customs, he had initially had little interest in Su Tangyu. He only paid attention to people who could read and understand Han culture. Yet Su Tangyu did not refute him. Instead, she said, "It's not that Han women don't read, it's just that the common people you've met can't read. The poor, whether male or female, simply can't afford to study. Everyone I brought with me can read. The Khan has allowed me to educate the people of northern Di. You'll see soon enough." Since this was a marriage alliance, Su Tangyu had deliberately chosen attendants who could read. She knew sensible, literate people would make things run more smoothly. Educating the people of northern Di and making them recognize Han culture. Perhaps when the time was right, she could take control of the Han-inhabited cities under northern Di's rule, reclaiming northern Di without bloodshed. These were Su Tongyue's plans. The second prince had no idea what she was thinking. Remembering the people around her, he was somewhat convinced. "Perhaps you're right, I was being ignorant. Father has ordered me to help you promote Han culture. You can come to me directly for anything you need." With the second prince's promise, Su Tangyu gained true freedom. She settled comfortably in northern Di, letting her people educate the masses. Before she knew it, her reputation had grown increasingly renowned. But peace lasted only 2 years before Su Tangyu was summoned alone by the Khan. His face even more gaunt than before. Though cured of the plague, he was now approaching the end of his natural life. The Khan's eyes were sharp as he threw a battle report at her. "Great Yang has broken the treaty and sent troops to conquer us. Princess of Great Yang, what do you have to say about this?" Great Yang had torn up the alliance and marched straight for northern Di. Leading the army was none other than Shen Lingmo. He should have come much earlier, but just before his departure, news of Su Tongyue's death had reached the capital. Upon hearing the news, he had suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood, fallen off his horse, and fallen into a coma. In just 2 short years, news of Su Tongyue's death had been spread throughout Great Yang by those with ulterior motives. And Shen Lingmo had been ill for the entire time. During this period, he had been plagued by a recurring nightmare. "You're saying, You dreamed of Tongyue's tragic death. Su Qian stared at Shen Lingmo in disbelief, wanting to scold him for cursing Tangyu, but he opened his mouth and said nothing. In the end, he only took 2 steps back, looking away. Tangyu isn't dead. She left with so many people. If something really happened to her, it's impossible that not a single one of them would have returned. Shen Lingmo stared straight ahead, the scene from his dream still echoing in his mind. Su Tangyu had been in front of him, her face pale as paper, coughing up blood repeatedly, yet her eyes had been fixed on him, asking over and over again why he had killed her, why he had forced her to drink the poisonous wine Qianji, torturing her to death. His chest ached so fiercely it felt like he was suffocating. Even though the pain had been Tongyue's in the dream, he had felt it as if it were his own. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Tangyu must have been in so much pain. She was always so delicate and willful, she couldn't bear suffering. They're hurting Tangyu. Shen Lingmo's gaze shifted from heartbreak to blankness, then to madness and bloodlust, staring in the direction of the northern border. He looked ready to pounce on anyone. He didn't know why he was having such a dream. He could only attribute it to Tangyu calling out to him for help, telling him of her suffering. So before marching, he had pointed his sword directly at Northern Di. I will bring Tangyu back even if it's just her bones. I won't let her remain in Northern Di. The army marched rapidly, reaching the border in the shortest possible time. Shen Lingmo did not rest for a moment. Taking over command of the border defenses that same day, he led his troops straight for the Northern Di herdsmen's lands, burning tents instead of attacking cities. Northern Di was a grassland tribe. Their herdsmen followed the water and grass with their cattle and sheep, often making them hard to track. But Shen Lingmo didn't care. Every day, he led his men into the grasslands, killing anyone they encountered, convinced he was avenging Tangyu. His brutality terrified both the border soldiers and civilians, who dared not approach him. The Northern Di herdsmen fled at the mere sight of him. Early one morning, Shen Lingmo decapitated a small Northern Di tribe's chieftain with a single spear thrust. Suppressing his impatience, he asked, "Haven't we gathered enough provisions and troops yet? General, the border is poor. The imperial provisions won't arrive for another month. It's really not advisable to attack now." The general replied tremblingly, only for his hand to be pierced by a sharp blade the next moment. Shen Lingmo's brows were filled with violence. "Then find a way to gather them. I want to besiege the city within half a month and slaughter every last person in Northern Di. Yes, yes." The soldiers and generals around him scattered in a panic. Left alone, Shen Lingmo looked up at the vast sky and whispered, "Tangyu, wait for me." Little did he know that the woman he longed for so desperately, Su Tangyu, was riding a horse, standing on a high hillside watching him. Beside her, Lu Jiao stood guard, clad in armor and holding a sharp weapon. Like a silent sentinel, the second prince rode on her other side, his gaze occasionally drifting to her when he thought she wasn't looking. Further away stood the first prince, tall and muscular, handsome with a hint of wildness in his features. Seeing Su Tangyu staring into the distance in a daze, the eldest prince tapped his horse's head with his whip, asking in an intimidating tone, "Princess of Great Yang, didn't you say you have a way to make Great Yang's army withdraw?" Before Su Tangyu could reply, he sneered disdainfully, "I heard you were betrothed to that Great Yang general. Don't tell me you plan to kneel before his horse and beg him to turn back." The eldest prince's face was filled with contempt for Su Tangyu. "Princess of Great Yang, let me tell you, romance with men is worthless. He didn't even lift a finger when you were sent to marry here. Do you really think he'll obey you? If you're so afraid of father punishing you, why not marry my third brother sooner? Let him protect you." The eldest prince didn't want Su Tangyu for himself, and he knew the second prince disliked Han women, so passing her to the third prince would satisfy everyone. Before Su Tangyu could speak, Lu Jiao beside her could no longer contain his anger. "If you dare to order Her Highness around again, I'll kill you." The eldest prince glared fiercely. "Come try it. This prince will behead you first." A fight was about to break out when the second prince stepped in to mediate in time. "I think Her Highness already has a plan. Eldest brother, please say no more." The tension finally subsided after a long while. Only then did Su Tangyu answer the eldest prince's earlier question. "Just wait." With those words, she turned her horse around and left, summoning the guards she had brought with her for the marriage alliance. Great Yang needs peace, but this general is attacking Northern Di without justification, threatening the people's peace. He must be persuaded to withdraw his troops. Su Tangyu spoke loudly, using the grand rhetoric to cover up as she slipped a note to one of the guards. It read, "The time has come, seize power." Since curing Northern Di's plague, she had faced little surveillance in the royal city. Additionally, Northern Di paid little attention to the occupied cities, allowing the Great Yang people to govern themselves, which made it easy for her to carry out her plans. At the very least, in the cities originally belonging to Great Yang, she had found many insightful people plotting to return to their homeland. Northern Di's occupation of Great Yang cities and their use of surrendered generals to govern them posed a significant problem. Her bold claim before the elderly Khan, promising to let Great Yang fight Great Yang without sacrificing a single Northern Di soldier, was the perfect opportunity to wipe out these surrendering factions in one fell swoop. After the guards left, only Lu Jiao and the palace made by Zhu remained in the tent. Lu Jiao was still brooding over the eldest prince's words. "Your Highness, why do you endure the eldest prince? The elderly Khan is dying." The imperial physician felt his pulse and said he has at most a month left. "Why don't we directly support the second prince to ascend the throne? With the second prince's obedience to you, we could openly control Northern Di." Su Tangyu smiled upon hearing this. "No, the second prince is not truly obedient to me. He values his tribe above all else. Keeping him as the sole ruler would be troublesome. I would only be reduced to a decorative princess consort." 2 years ago, when she first arrived, Northern Di could not afford chaos. She had no foundation, no military power, and no backing in Northern Di. She couldn't influence anything during the barbarians' internal strife. She could only let them fight until one king emerged victorious. But now, she had firmly established herself in Northern Di. Times have changed, Lu Jiao. I cannot have an absolute authority suppressing me now, otherwise, without the elderly Khan's muddled judgment, he would detect the unrest in the occupied Great Yang cities, and I would be in danger. When the elderly Khan dies and the 3 princes fight for power, I, who have already integrated here, can seize the opportunity to take control of Great Yang's original cities. If Great Yang had remained peaceful and not waged war against Northern Di, she was confident that within 20 years, she could gather the strength of the occupied cities to completely dismember and annihilate Northern Di, even driving them far away from Great Yang's borders. Unfortunately, why had Shenlingmore torn up the peace treaty and insisted on marching against Northern Di? She was the one who had married into Northern Di, not Su Yaoyao. Did he have some urgent reason to attack Northern Di? Only Shenlingmore could answer that question. So 5 days later, Shenlingmore saw Su Tangyu alive and well. Clang, weapons fell to the ground. Shenlingmore stared at Su Tangyu in a daze, his gaze so intense it seemed he wanted to bore a hole through her. Tangyu, that day, Shenlingmore had received information and led a team deep into the grasslands to encircle and suppress a small Northern Di tribe. But just as they arrived and he gave the order to attack, an arrow shot straight toward his face. He raised his hand to block it, then turned to hurl his spear only to lock eyes with Su Tengyu's calm gaze. Shocked beyond words, he stumbled off his horse along with his forward momentum, his weapon clattering to the ground. Even as the leader of the barbarian tribe raised his sword to slash at him, Shenlingmore remained frozen, not blinking an eye, afraid that if he did, the figure before him would vanish like an illusion. "Tangyu," He moved his lips, his voice trembling. Tang Yu, you're alive, aren't you? This isn't a dream, you're really alive, right? Tormented by recurring nightmares, he had been almost driven insane. He hadn't dared to sleep for days and nights, fearing he would see Su Tongyue's tragic death again, a pain so profound it shattered his heart. But now, he no longer feared. Su Tangyu was alive. She was safe and sound, staring at him with a cold look. He urgently wanted to touch her, to feel her living heartbeat. He rushed toward her horse without hesitation. Even as spearheads pointed at him, he merely raised his arm to block them. As if feeling no pain, he ran straight to Su Tongyue's horse. Watching his desperate, seemingly caring demeanor, Su Tangyu frowned. "What are you doing?" Her anger flared even more as she asked. "Why did you disregard the peace treaty and forcefully attack Northern Di? Why have you plunged the people of Great Yang into the suffering of war? If you're going to do this, what was the point of my marriage alliance?" Her rapid-fire questions failed to clear Shen Lingmore's muddled mind. He hugged her legs, murmuring, "We thought you were dead, Tang Yu. We all thought you were dead." No one knew the overwhelming emptiness he had felt the moment he heard of her death. From the moment Tang Yu and he had pledged their lives to each other, he had sworn to live and die with her. If danger ever came, he would be the first to die, never letting her face the storms alone. But Tang Yu had gone to Northern Di for the marriage alliance without a word and died in obscurity. He couldn't accept it. For 2 years, his chest had been filled with blazing rage, his sanity teetering on the edge of madness. At this moment, anyone could see that Tang Yu was his life. Shen Lingmore poured out his heartfelt feelings, but Su Tangyu had no patience to listen. She kicked him away. "I'm asking you, why are you attacking Northern Di?" When she was angry, her face turned cold, and her eyes shone brightly, leaving Shen Lingmore in a daze. He suddenly remembered that he hadn't seen her angry in a long time, especially before the marriage alliance. Whenever she saw him and Su Qian fawning over Su Yaoyao, she would always glare at him, demanding he not neglect her. But at some point, she had become indifferent, as if she no longer cared about him. Shen Lingmore regained some clarity, but an inexplicable panic surged in his heart. "Tang Yu, come back to Great Yang with me. 2 years ago, I didn't know you were the one being sent to marry. If I had known, I would never have let you come. You're the little princess of Great Yang, cherished in everyone's palms. How could you endure such hardships?" His words were sincere, as if he truly meant them from the bottom of his heart. But Su Tangyu sneered, "I haven't suffered any hardships in Northern Di. Could the hardships of Northern Di be worse than what she endured in the Great Yang Palace? In her previous life, Shen Lingmore had even wanted to tie her to the grasslands and make her take Su Yaoyoro's place in the marriage alliance. Now, why was he putting on such a hypocritical show? Her voice cold, she said, "No matter what you're planning, leave immediately. Withdraw your troops. Su Yaoyao and your child are waiting for you." At her words, Shen Lingmore froze completely. His face turned as pale as a sheet, and only then did she notice that strands of his hair at the temples had turned white. It was clear how devastating these 2 years had been for him. When he heard Su Tangyu mention Su Yaoyao, he reflexively denied it. "That's not true, Tangyu. Yaoyao isn't pregnant with my child. I have nothing to do with her. I only see her as a younger sister. I took care of her because she's so pitiful." He had wanted to add that he had looked after Su Yaoyao only to make up for the mistakes she had made out of jealousy, but then he met Su Tongyue's cold eyes. She looked at him with a gaze that saw through everything, watching his lies calmly. With a jolt of panic, Shen Lingmore realized she knew everything. Because she knew everything, she had resolutely agreed to the marriage alliance, left him far behind, and generously given him to Su Yaoyao. A woman's generosity only came when she no longer loved. A metallic taste filled Shen Lingmore's throat. "Tang Yu, I'm sorry." He knelt on the ground, hiding the blood at the corner of his mouth from her sight, and apologized sincerely. "Believe me, What happened between Su Yaoyao and me was just a moment of confusion, a momentary lapse. I truly don't love her. I swear, I'll never see Su Yaoyao again, never have any contact with her, if you don't want to go back to the capital. That's fine, once I conquer northern Di, we'll stay at the border, far away from all the strife, just the two of us for the rest of our lives. Okay, conquer northern Di. Su Tangyu didn't listen to another word, only that key phrase registered. In the end, he still refused to withdraw his troops. Do you want me dead that badly? Her question stunned Shen Lingmore. What? Su Tangyu's eyes turned icy. I thought I'd already retreated to the edge of the cliff. But I never imagined you'd want to push me off, suddenly sending troops to find her, pretending to apologize, pretending his old feelings still lingered. Wasn't it all just an excuse to have her killed? After she had left for the marriage alliance, Great Yang had taken the initiative to declare war. Wasn't that proof they wanted her dead, unlike Su Yaoyao in her previous life? She didn't have an army at her disposal, nor did she have 3 years of careful planning by the Crown Prince and Shen Lingmore. If war broke out now, and she was still the same person she had been 2 years ago, the elderly Khan would have beheaded her in public as a sacrifice to the flag long ago. If he wanted to harm her, she had no choice but to strike first, making up her mind, before Shen Lingmore could react. She drew the long sword from her horse and stabbed it straight into his chest. There was no resistance at all. She froze in surprise. Shen Lingmore stared at her in disbelief. Their eyes met for a moment before a general beside Shen Lingmore shouted loudly, "Protect the general!" The clash of weapons erupted again. The Great Yang soldiers escorted Shen Lingmore and quickly retreated to the border city. Su Tangyu did not stop them. Instead, she ordered her men to halt their horses and watched them leave. Several Great Yang generals let out sighs of relief, their subtle wariness of Su Tangyu fading significantly. Suddenly, the thunderous sound of hooves approached. Leading the charge was none other than the first prince. He led a cavalry unit straight for the injured Shen Lingmore, laughing loudly as he charged. Since the main general of Great Yang is wounded, let's take his life. Listen up, soldiers. Whoever kills that Shen Lingmore today and helps me capture Great Yang's border city tomorrow will be granted the title of Marquis when I ascend the throne. At his words, the rugged northern Di warriors behind the first prince grew excited, shouting as they charged toward the Great Yang army. Whoosh! A sharp arrow shot through the air, hurtling toward the first prince's head with immense force, splattering blood everywhere. The first prince screamed in agony as blood blurred his eyes, plunging him into darkness. Amidst the anxious cries of his subordinates, he suppressed the throbbing pain in his chest from the injury and looked toward Su Tangyu with his uninjured eye. The woman he had dismissed as weak and harmless was holding a bow and arrow, her voice cold and clear. "First Prince, everything I do is to protect the people of Great Yang, not to defect to northern Di. If you want to kill Great Yang's general, I'll take your life first." Shen Lingmore was carried back to the border city by his generals. He had fallen into a coma after being stabbed by Su Tangyu. Upon returning to the city, he was rushed to a room for emergency treatment. The generals waited outside, exchanging glances before finally starting to whisper among themselves. "Princess Tangyu is still alive. Then our initiative to attack northern Di is actually endangering the princess. I always suspected the princess might not be dead." The news came from the capital, but we saw with our own eyes that she left the country safely, and northern Di never released any news of her death. Quit being a Monday morning quarterback. Now everyone knows the princess is alive, and she personally stabbed our main general, General Shen. It must have been out of desperation. General Shen refused to withdraw his troops. The princess was probably forced into a corner by those northern Di barbarians to make us leave. She even fell out with the first prince. I wonder if she's in danger. We should have led the entire army out of the city earlier. We could have brought the princess back with us. Don't mention it. We only made it back because the princess protected us. And General Shun, if he couldn't bear to let the princess marry far away, why didn't he find someone to take her place? Now that she's already married here, he comes chasing after her. Exactly. The princess only has a few hundred men with her, there's no guarantee for her safety. This is just endangering her. Meanwhile, Su Tangyu, whom the generals were worrying about, had returned to her tent. The first prince, severely wounded by the arrow, had been escorted by his subordinates to find a doctor in a hurry, leaving chaos outside. After a while, the second prince came to see Su Tangyu. Seeing her sitting safely inside the tent, his anxious expression relaxed. As he carefully checked to see if she was injured, he asked, "Why did you provoke my eldest brother?" Su Tangyu hung up her cleaned bow and arrow, sat back down at the desk to read, and replied, "I fell out with him." The second prince looked helpless. "Your Highness, why provoke the eldest brother? He's arrogant and reckless. When it comes to choosing subordinates, he doesn't care about their character, only who can win battles for him. He has all sorts of people around him. If you quietly continue educating the people, no one will dare to touch you. But if the eldest brother gets angry, you'll have endless trouble. Those people wouldn't even hesitate to sneak into your tent." Seeing his sincere concern, Su Tangyu couldn't help but smile. "Although we're not married, I'm still the Khan's fiancé. I'll be fine." But his brows furrowed even more. "You still want to marry the eldest brother? He has no interest in weak women or beauty. He'll never marry you." Su Tangyu looked confused. When had she said she wanted to marry the first prince? Watching as the second prince launched into a litany of complaints about the first prince, Su Tangyu fell into deep thought. Following this line of thought, she asked, "Then who would be willing to marry me?" "The third prince." The second prince immediately shook his head nervously. "Third brother does love beautiful women, and has said he'd be happy to marry you. But he has countless beauties around him. I'm afraid you'd never get his full attention." Su Tangyu didn't think a princess sent for a marriage alliance needed to worry about her place in her future husband's heart, but she seemed to sense something, pressing on, "What about you?" A faint blush crept onto the second prince's pale skin, fair from years of loving books over battle, his handsome features enough to make any girl's heart race. Yet his gaze was unflinching as he said frankly, "Marry me. From now on, everything I have is yours." Su Tangyu hadn't expected such directness, freezing for a moment. Just then, a servant from the elderly Khan hurried over, summoning her to the royal tent. Su Tangyu's heart skipped a beat, fearing the elderly Khan was at his last breath. She left the second prince behind and rushed over immediately. Relief washed over her when she saw the Khan sitting upright on his throne. Then she heard him ask, "Princess of Great Yang, my eldest son wishes to marry you. What do you think?" After staying in the Khan's tent for a quarter of an hour, Su Tangyu returned to her own. Bai Zhu, who had accompanied her, looked flustered. "Your Highness, what do we do now? Are you really going to marry him?" From the Khan's attitude, it was clear he intended to bind Su Tangyu to Northern Di before his death, once the groom was chosen. The wedding would take place immediately. When Su Tangyu first arrived in Northern Di, she had planned to establish roots here, using years of careful planning to secure peace for Great Yang. But now, Great Yang had already assembled a large army and would not easily withdraw. If Su Tangyu was further tied to Northern Di, danger would only grow. Marry who? The second prince was still waiting in the tent. Hearing Bai Zhu's question, he asked in confusion. Bai Zhu tensed, realizing she had slipped up, and fell silent. Su Tangyu, however, replied bluntly, "The Khan said the eldest prince is willing to marry me. Our wedding will be in 10 days. At those words, the second prince's face turned pale. He locked eyes with Su Tangyu for a moment, confirming she was serious before hurrying to his feet. "I'll go ask father and eldest brother. Don't be afraid, I won't let you suffer any grievances." By the look of it, he thought Su Tangyu was being forced and was going to plead her case. She didn't stop him, only watching him leave before turning her attention back to Bai Zhu. Bai Zhu, the imperial physician said the elderly Khan has at most 10 days left. Correct? Bai Zhu lowered her eyes, answering respectfully, "Yes, Your Highness." The young eunuch we uncovered 2 years ago, who had malicious intentions toward you, has also been passing information to the Khan. He knows every move you make. Su Tangyu nodded. The elderly Khan wants the eldest prince to succeed him. That's why he's making me marry him first, then exile the second and third princes from the royal city to solidify Northern Di's power. The tribes backing the second and third princes won't accept this. There will surely be chaos. We can take this opportunity to stir up unrest in the great Yang cities occupied by Northern Di, raise our banners, recruit soldiers, and lead these cities back to Great Yang in one fell swoop. As soon as Su Tangyu finished speaking, Bai Zhu nodded eagerly. Your Highness, I'll find a way to send word to Great Yang's border towns, telling our subordinates to prepare. At Great Yang's border, aside from the subordinates maintaining contact with Su Tangyu, the other Great Yang generals gathered again, sitting in silence facing each other. They had received only a brief message. Princess Tangyu was to marry Northern Di's eldest prince. These generals served under Shen Lingmo, taking orders directly from him. They dared not deliver this news to him, not after Su Tangyu had stabbed him with her own hand. The general had been unconscious ever since, only calling out Su Tangyu's name repeatedly during his high fever and delirium, after discussing for days without coming up with a solution. They had no choice but to tell Shen Lingmo the truth word for word when he finally woke up. What did you say? Shen Lingmo's face turned ashen, perhaps due to his worsening heartache. Even after being unconscious for days, dark circles still lingered under his eyes, his cheeks gaunt and haggard. Before the generals could respond, he suddenly drew his sword from beside the bed and rushed toward the door. I won't let those barbarians humiliate her. I'm going to bring Tangyu back. Watching him rush out in a frenzy, the generals panicked and scrambled to stop him. But before they could voice their pleas, a clear, joyful voice called out from the courtyard gate, "Brother Lingmo." It was Su Yao Yao. She had arrived with provisions for Great Yang's army, enough for only 3 months. She was eager for Great Yang to take the initiative to go to war, so the young eunuch she had sent could incite the elderly Khan to have Su Tangyu killed. A flash of cruelty crossed her eyes, yet when facing Shen Lingmo, she still looked weak and delicate. Brother Lingmo, aren't we going to attack Northern Di? Our army is strong and well-equipped, we'll surely annihilate Northern Di within 3 months. Su Yao Yao threw herself into Shen Lingmo's arms. Paying no heed to the sword in his hand, she was certain he would never hurt her. Shen Lingmo did pause. Having just climbed out of bed, his body was still weak. He had only rushed out on a surge of emotion. Su Yaoiro's sudden embrace made him stumble slightly. Dizziness washed over him, and images of Su Tangyu suffering from the poisoned wine flashed before his eyes. His heart ached, and he pushed Su Yao Yao away, asking, "What are you doing here? Shouldn't you be in the capital with the Empress Dowager?" Caught off guard by the rejection, Su Yao Yao looked wronged. "I want to be with you always." She leaned against him weakly, tears glistening in her eyes as she cried, "Brother Lingmo, I know you still think of Sister Tangyu, but I'm more worried about your health." "Don't worry, even though Sister ruined my health all those years ago, I'll take good care of myself to stay by your side." Shen Lingmo barely registered the rest of Su Yaoiro's words. Only her accusation that Su Tangyu had harmed her echoed wildly in his mind. Su Yao Yao had said this many times before, but only now did a frantic thought surge within him. No, no one harmed Su Yao Yao, it was all a lie. But before he could deny her words, his consciousness faded into darkness. In his delirium, he had a dream of his previous life. He dreamed of the day Su Tangyu died a tragic death, and how he had personally forced her to drink the poisonous Chenji wine. After making her drink it, he hadn't glanced at her again. He had turned and left the dilapidated room. Pulling a letter from his bosom, it was a blood-stained letter from Su Yaro, Brother Lingmore. I don't know what I did wrong. I agreed to the marriage alliance with Northern Di as Su Tangyu wished, yet she still wants to kill me. Perhaps Sister Tangyu is too jealous that I have your love, so neither I nor our child can escape death. I don't hate her. Brother Lingmore, at least she loves you. It was a suicide note, just a few pages long, stained with tears and written in blood. So he had believed her words, thinking Su Tangyu had relentlessly pursued Su Yaro even after the marriage alliance. Consumed by rage, he had personally fed her the poisoned wine. After reading the letter and calming down, he had thought bitterly, why can't Tangyu and Yaro coexist? When he saw Su Tangyu's cold body, a piece of his heart felt empty, overwhelmed by sharp, lingering pain that almost suffocated him. He had fought Northern Di fiercely, recklessly, and without fear of death. It had taken him 3 years to finally bring Su Yaroiro's remains back to Great Yang. On the day Su Yaro was buried in Great Yang's imperial mausoleum, he had drunk a bowl of poisoned wine himself, to atone for killing Su Tangyu with his own hands, and to atone for failing to keep the promise he had made to protect her. But Shen Lingmore never imagined that as he lay dying after drinking the poisoned wine, Crown Prince Su Qian would suddenly burst in, grabbing him frantically. It wasn't Tangyu, everything was Su Yaroiro's self-directed drama. She's not pregnant with your child either. That letter was to make you hate Tangyu. Where is Tangyu? Let her go at once. When Shen Lingmore regained consciousness, he couldn't distinguish between reality and dreams, past life and present. All he remembered was the final moment. Su Qian had laid out the evidence of Su Yaroiro's deception before him. But he couldn't utter a single word, because he could no longer return Su Tangyu to Su Qian. He had sent her to the underworld with his own hands. Recalling that last scene from his previous life, Shen Lingmore opened his mouth and let out a hoarse, agonizing roar. Ah! He reached out, one hand clutching his abdomen fiercely, the other tightening around his neck. Suffocation and pain surged over him, as if he could feel the agony Su Tangyu had endured before her death. On that day in his previous life, servants had told him she had suffered for hours, cried for hours, her blood soaking the ground. The poisoned wine Chenji had burned through her intestines and rotted her organs. What he had dismissed as trivial back then now pierced his heart like 1,000 knives. Tears spilled from Shen Lingmore's eyes, and he couldn't tell if his body ached more or his heart. Lingmore Gidge, you're awake. Suddenly, a voice of surprise came from the door, and Su Yaroiro's face came into view. Seeing him harming himself, she froze for a moment. Lingmore, what are you doing? Su Yaroiro's face jolted Shen Lingmore back to reality. He stared at her intently, his grip gradually loosening. Only then did he finally wake from his 2-year-long nightmare. Remembering everything he had done, Su Yaro felt chills under his gaze and avoided his eyes. After a moment, she picked up a wrung-out cold towel and tried to wipe the sweat from his forehead. Softening her voice, Lingmore Gidge, you've been unconscious for 10 days. Are you still feeling unwell? I'll go get the imperial physician. Before she could finish, Shen Lingmore suddenly grabbed her by the neck. His eyes were filled with ferocity. You wanted to kill Tangyu, didn't you? How dare you harm her? He suddenly went mad. Su Yaro was stunned for a moment, then burst into tears. I didn't, I really didn't. Lingmore Gidge, are you heartbroken because sister is going to marry those barbarians? But it was her own choice, she just wants a better life. At the word marry, Shen Lingmore pulled his hand back as if burned. Yes, Tangyu is still in the hands of those barbarians. I have to save her. Ignoring Su Yaro, who had collapsed to the ground, grateful to be alive, he got up and dressed himself, put on his armor, and grabbed his weapon. Meanwhile, inside Su Tangyu's tent, 2 years ago, Su Tangyu had brought all her wedding belongings to Northern Di. Over the past 2 years, most of them had been used to improve the lives of the border people. Now, The tent was filled with the first prince's personal wealth, gold, silver, jewels, and rare antiques, making Su Tangyu even more prosperous than she had been 2 years earlier. Bijou helped Su Tangyu dress and do her hair, sighing softly, "Your Highness, the first prince truly cares for you. He specially ordered that the wedding follow Han customs. You'll pay homage to heaven and earth on the city gates of Great Yang." He even forced all Northern DI generals to learn Han rituals, ordered everyone to treat you with the utmost respect, and sent all his personal wealth to you. He's been so thoughtful. If you marry him willingly, you might live a peaceful life. Su Tangyu smiled and said only, "The people of Great Yang are more important." Bijou looked at her with admiration and pride, saying no more. Dawn broke, and the sky grew light. The usually bustling royal tent was silent now, everyone holding their breath. Su Tangyu's wedding sedan chair traveled from the royal tent to the occupied Great Yang city. When it landed, all the Northern DI generals, following Han customs, bowed awkwardly but respectfully to her. Beside her, the guards sent by the first prince to protect her were also cautious. Not daring to lift their heads, they walked all the way to the main hall on the city wall. The first prince, dressed in a wedding robe, stared at her with bright eyes, about to speak, when a soldier's voice suddenly came from outside. "Khan, first prince, Great Yang's army is attacking the city." The air fell silent. Like a suppressed volcano, everyone's gaze turned to Su Tangyu, sharp and cold as if trying to crush her. Su Tangyu's expression remained calm. Just as she was about to speak, the first prince suddenly took her hand. The palm of the man who had trained in martial arts all his life was warm. Despite his strength enough to kill with one punch, his grip was surprisingly gentle. Holding her hand carefully, the ruggedly handsome first prince blushed slightly. But his voice was bold and hearty. "As you predicted, the Great Yang army really came. You've already arranged the defense troops, haven't you?" At his words, the tense atmosphere relaxed. Su Tangyu smiled along. "I've been ready. I won't let anything ruin my wedding." Hearing this, the first prince was overjoyed. He still couldn't figure out how the hands he was holding now had shot the arrow that wounded him. They were not weak at all, but full of heroic spirit. Yet it was that very arrow that had left a scar on his face and a lasting impression on his heart. Once he set his sights on someone, he never hesitated. He wanted to marry her right away, and that's why he had outpaced his second brother by more than just a step. Thinking this, the first prince smiled. "The one outside is that general you were once betrothed to, isn't he? He sent you to Northern DI, and now he wants you back. It's too late, forget about him. Let's finish the wedding first. After that, I'll help you deal with him." Su Tangyu nodded. "Then let's proceed." She didn't glance at the door. Following the first prince into the inner hall, leading her to the elderly Khan, the first prince nodded at the Great Yang ritual officer. The officer understood and shouted loudly, "Bride and groom, first bow to heaven and earth." As the words fell, a distant roar seemed to echo. No, but the two didn't hesitate. They joined hands and bowed to heaven and earth, then to each other as husband and wife. When all the rituals were completed, everyone let out a sigh of relief. The first prince was overjoyed, unable to contain himself as he lifted Su Tangyu into his arms and shouted, "My wife, now you're my princess." He spun her around excitedly, laughing loudly. "Let's go. We'll behead that Great Yang general who dared to disturb you and offer his head as a sacrifice to the flag." When his broad chest embraced her, Su Tangyu was momentarily stunned. She found his straightforward way of speaking refreshing. Northern DI's customs were truly nothing like Great Yang's, but she quickly composed herself and followed the first prince to the city wall. Their eyes met with Shun Lingmore's. In just a few days, he had grown even more haggard. The once vibrant and handsome General Shun now had dull eyes and was covered in wounds. Su Tangyu didn't know that the first prince had deliberately held a feast on the city wall and ordered the ritual officer to shout the wedding rituals loudly. causing Shenlingmore to suffer a violent mental shock and cough up blood. She only frowned and said, "Great Yang's army is fierce. I'm afraid they'll breach the city soon." As the main general, Shenlingmore was attacking the city recklessly with bloodshot eyes, boosting his soldiers' morale, making victory seem inevitable. The first prince shrugged it off. "I've brought my troops, I'll deal with him personally." Su Tangyu said no more. The border cities of Great Yang had always been towering, built to defend against Northern Di's invasions, but since Anbei City was occupied by Northern Di, its walls had been destroyed, trampled freely by cavalry no longer capable of offering much protection. What made the battle even more tragic was that the generals and soldiers defending the city were fellow Great Yang citizens, fighting against their own people. Su Tongyue's gaze swept over the struggling generals of Anbei City. Under the watchful eyes of Northern Di, they shouted "Kill the enemy" at the top of their lungs, their eyes showing no regard for compatriots or righteousness, only fear for their own lives. Her expression turned cold. These men would die today. The sound of battle cries continued, but suddenly, Northern Di soldiers shouted from behind, "No, something's happened to the Khan." The elderly Khan was expected to die within the month, but no one knew better than Su Tangyu that this day would come so soon. The moment news of the Khan's death spread across the city walls, Su Tangyu had already stepped back, putting distance between herself and the eldest prince. She took the bow and arrow Baizhu handed her. Under the eldest prince's confused gaze, she drew the bowstring and knocked an arrow. At the same time, the clash of weapons erupted on the city wall, followed by the shocked cries of Northern Di generals. "People of Great Yang, what are you doing?" Below the city wall, the Anbei city generals who had faithfully fought their fellow Great Yang citizens for Northern Di suddenly froze, blood spilling from their lips. From behind, their loyal subordinates stabbed them through the chest. Grinning maliciously, "Enjoyed killing your own people, didn't you? Damned traitors who surrendered to Northern Di." Their eyes widened in disbelief, but they choked on their words and fell dead before they could speak. Half of the Great Yang army fighting them froze, unsure of what was happening. The other half, who had long been instructed, let out a roar and charged forward without hesitation, surrounding and attacking the Northern Di soldiers. The civil war among Great Yang's people instantly transformed into a battlefield between Great Yang and Northern Di. On the city wall, the eldest prince was stunned for a moment, watching his generals be suddenly wounded and their legs cut off. He tensed. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw someone swinging a sword at him and immediately drew his guard's weapon to block. He knew this must be Su Tongyue's doing. He tried to look back at her, but was met with an oncoming arrow. Su Tongyue's arrow grazed his left cheek, leaving a bloody gash. She had intended to shoot again, but suddenly paused. For a split second, she thought the eldest prince was crying, but she had no time to dwell on it. The eldest prince was a fierce warrior. Several Great Yang guards on the city wall couldn't hold him back. She was about to summon more Great Yang troops when someone suddenly grabbed her from behind. "Tangyu, in such a short time." Shenlingmore had actually climbed the city wall and rushed to her side. Seeing her turn to look at him, the bloodshot veins in his eyes immediately faded. Just like when they first met, he instinctively straightened his robes and called her cautiously, "Tangyu." After speaking, he froze, unsure of what to say next. Su Tangyu tossed him a steel sword. "Cut the nonsense. Go capture the eldest prince." Shenlingmore caught the sword, feeling the pain in his chest ease. So her marriage was just a ploy to lower the eldest prince's and Northern Di's guard, not that she truly wanted to marry. He nodded heavily and turned to join the battle to besiege the eldest prince. Having fought on the battlefield since childhood, Shenlingmore was highly skilled in martial arts. He quickly joined forces with others to capture the eldest prince. "Eldest prince, my apologies," Su Tangyu said politely, waving for someone to take the bound eldest prince away. But the eldest prince kicked the guard away, strode up to Su Tangyu, and glared at her angrily. Twice, he enunciated each word fiercely. You shot me twice. The
capital is seriously ill and dying. Please return to the capital to take charge of Great Yang's affairs. For several days in a row, messengers from the capital knelt before Su Tangyu, begging her to return. They came one after another, from the imperial palace's chief eunuch to court officials. It was said that even the prime minister, one of the most powerful ministers in the court, had set off to find her. Her father, the emperor, who had been recovering from illness in the palace for a long time, even issued an imperial edict, conferring upon her the title of crown princess and ordering her to return to court to take charge of state affairs. It seemed Su Qian's condition was indeed critical. Su Tangyu understood that when her father had been seriously ill, he had been drowsy most of the time and had long since handed over the power of regency to her elder brother, Crown Prince Su Qian. Though he hadn't ascended the throne, Su Qian had been the de facto ruler of Great Yang. But now, with an imperial edict issued, Su Qian's situation must be dire. As she pondered, another imperial edict arrived. Su Qian said she was allowed to lead troops back to the capital and take over the government. Seeing Su Tangyu instruct the messenger to stay in a guest house, Bijou couldn't guess her intentions and asked tentatively, "Your Highness, what do you think?" Su Tangyu snapped back to reality. "It's fine. Prepare to return to the capital. Regardless of what happens, Great Yang's political power must not be unstable. Otherwise, not only will the people suffer, but even if I try to live in seclusion here, I won't be able to protect myself." Su Tangyu was deeply surprised. Su Qian was young. Though he had delayed marrying, he had always been in good health. She had never imagined he would fall ill. She had never imagined she would be appointed crown princess, either. A month later, the army returned to the capital. Su Tangyu had expected to face obstacles, but instead, the people greeted her with smiles, lining the streets to welcome her. She heard their whispers. "I heard that after Princess Tangyu married into Northern Di, she endured the oppression of the Northern Di barbarians, pretending to submit while secretly accumulating power. In the end, she personally killed the king of Northern Di and recaptured our Great Yang cities in one fell swoop. That's not all. I heard the princess also educated the people and governed the border cities. Even though she's a princess, she was willing to personally teach us farmers to read. She's so approachable. You all don't know the half of it. The princess I heard about is even more amazing. It's said that the people of Northern Di are completely convinced by her. As soon as they heard the princess wanted to recapture the cities, they knelt and opened the gates. When their so-called first prince tried to bully the princess, someone chopped off his head from behind and presented it to her. The rumors grew more and more absurd. After listening for a while, Su Tangyu called for Lu Jiao. "Go put an end to these rumors." Lu Jiao nodded with a smile and added, "Don't be annoyed, Your Highness. Haven't you noticed? The people haven't mentioned the other one at all." When Su Tangyu had left the capital for the marriage alliance 2 years ago, Lu Jiao had heard the people wish Su Yaoyao a happy life and ask her to enjoy the blessings that should have belonged to their princess. Back then, Lu Jiao had been so angry he'd nearly beaten that commoner. Now, returning to the capital, no one even mentioned Su Yaoyao anymore. In everyone's eyes, there was only their princess. All respect, glory, and praise belonged solely to her. Su Tangyu chuckled. "You certainly hold a grudge." Whether Lu Jiao held grudges or not, when she returned to the palace, Su Tangyu realized Su Qian was the one who truly bore a grudge. Before her stood Su Yaoyao, tied up tightly, kneeling on the ground in a sorry state. It was said that Su Qian's critical illness that day was all Su Yaoyoro's doing. Seeing Su Yaoyoro's miserable condition, it was Shen Lingmo who first showed anger in his eyes. He stepped forward, pointing at Su Yaoyao coldly. "After that day, I couldn't find you, so you fled back to the capital from the border." Su Yaoyao, already delirious, lifted her head immediately at the familiar voice, calling out with hope, "Brother Lingmo, save me. Prince Brother wants to kill me." As she spoke, Su Qian's weak voice came from inside the palace. "Who's making such a racket, disturbing my afternoon nap?" Even though the words came from someone who had once doted on her most, Su Yarou trembled violently. The East Palace was filled with a strong, pungent smell of medicine. Su Qian lay pale and ashen on the bed, looking as if his days were numbered. The Empress Dowager sat beside him, her face haggard. When they saw Su Tangyu enter, both averted their eyes instinctively. As if afraid to meet her gaze, silence hung heavy in the palace for a long time. Finally, Su Qian turned his gaze back, his voice soft. "Tangyu, listen to the evil things Su Yarou did to you." Su Qian had accidentally uncovered the truth. After Shen Lingmo marched to war, Su Yarou, unable to contain her jealousy that he still cared for Su Tangyu, had plotted with the young eunuch to go to the border and kill Su Tangyu herself. But just as she stole Su Qian's official seal and left the palace, she ran into Su Qian, who had been listening outside the door for who knew how long. When Su Qian caught her and questioned her, Su Yarou, in a panic, stabbed him 3 times, each blow hitting a vital spot, leaving him bedridden ever since. Later, Su Yarou fled to the border, hoping to regain her glory, but Su Qian sent men to capture her and bring her back, under severe torture and interrogation. Su Yarou couldn't hold on and confessed everything. Su Qian and the Empress Dowager had only heard the truth once, but every time they thought about it, they were overwhelmed with remorse, painful as if being cut by 1,000 blades, and just wanted to escape. But now, in front of Su Tangyu, they forced themselves to be ruthless, determined to clear her name. At Su Qian's signal, the maid behind Su Yarou picked up a whip. Su Yarou's pupils contracted in fear, and she scrambled backward. "No, no, Brother Lingmo, save me." She tried to beg Shen Lingmo for help, crawling to his feet to grab the hem of his robe only to see him step back directly. He watched coldly as Su Yarou was dragged away to be whipped. Crack! The sound of the whip hitting flesh was followed by Su Yarou's blood-curdling scream. Instinctively, she blurted out, "Ever since I entered the palace, I've been framing Su Tangyu. I slapped myself to pretend she did it. That poisoning incident years ago was also my doing. I tried every trick to frame Su Tangyu. I deliberately ate from the same bowl of soup as her, hoping she'd be accidentally poisoned to death. But I never expected she'd eaten Snow Mountain Ganoderma as a child, making her immune to all poisons. When my plan failed, I changed tactics immediately, enduring until the poison took effect, leaving her unable to defend herself and confirming her guilt. And, after the marriage alliance happened, I was afraid Su Tangyu would be brought back, so I sent someone to kill her and spread the news of her death. That's all. That's really all. Stop beating me." One evil deed after another poured out of her mouth. As Su Yarou spoke, Shen Lingmo, Su Qian, and the Empress Dowager sitting upright all clenched their fists tightly. Shen Lingmo replayed her words over and over in his mind. Though he was a warrior with a strong body, he couldn't help trembling uncontrollably. In his dream, he had only known that Su Yarou had wanted to drag Su Tangyu down with her before her death. He had no idea she had done all these terrible things earlier. What had he heard? The incident where Su Tangyu was accused of poisoning Su Yarou had been a frame-up. Su Yarou had tried to kill her, failed, and then accused her of the crime. Su Tangyu had been forced into the marriage alliance, and Su Yarou had still wanted to kill her. Even Su Yarou's long-standing frailty had probably been an act. What had they done to Su Tangyu? Believing Su Yarou's lies, they had accused her of poisoning. Su Qian had ordered her to be whipped 10 times, leaving her bedridden for half a month. To accommodate Su Yarou's illness, they had forced her to give up her palace, her titles, and everyone's favor. They had always thought Su Tangyu's actions were to seek attention, wanting to temper her temper. Even when she was injured, they had ignored her. But it turned out they had been the ones in the wrong. Thinking of all the suffering Su Tangyu had endured in both lives, Shen Lingmo's heart ached fiercely. He couldn't hold on any longer, coughing up a mouthful of bright red blood. Meanwhile, Su Yarou continued to beg for mercy, her shrill screams echoing through the East Palace, contrasting sharply with the deathly silence between the three. All three hung their heads, not daring to meet Su Tangyu's gaze. They didn't know what she was thinking as she listened to all this, recalling the unfair treatment and scoldings from years ago. Would she hate them? Su Qian's chest heaved violently. a sickly flush spreading across his face. After a long while, he stopped the maid, his voice cold. She didn't speak clearly. Make her say it again. Why did Su Yaoyao have to mention their bias while confessing to framing Su Tangyu? It was as if she was determined to strip them of all dignity, leaving them no chance to beg for forgiveness from Su Tangyu. Su Tangyu watched the whole spectacle like a play. The truth about Su Yaoyoro's frame-ups had finally come to light, but she didn't feel the joy she had once imagined. In her previous life, she had been unable to defend herself. With everyone convinced she was in the wrong, she had struggled and resisted, only to die a tragic death. In this life, she had long stopped caring. If she didn't care, how could there be any sense of relief or happiness? She just watched silently. She didn't speak, but Su Yaoyao, who had been whipped unconscious and then woken up again, couldn't bear it any longer. No one told the maid to stop. No matter how hard Su Yaoyao begged, she couldn't escape the whip. Her cries had become hoarse, but she still shouted, "What's the use of punishing me? Wasn't it you who harmed Su Tangyu? It was you who whipped her. It was you who forced her into the marriage alliance. It was you who didn't believe her. You did all of it. Why punish me? You're the ones who deserve to be punished. Shut up." Before she could finish, the maid, at Su Qian's signal, kicked her hard in the chest. Su Yaoyao crashed into the door, spitting up blood. She lay on the ground, struggling to lift her head, staring at Su Tangyu, now radiant and respected, with jealousy. She envied that Su Tangyu had been born a princess, envied that she had received countless favors since birth and never had to suffer. Su Yaoyao still felt resentful. Why had she been born an orphan? All that talk about becoming a princess, being like a sparrow turning into a phoenix, was a lie. Everything she had gained after entering the palace had been handouts from Su Tangyu. She still had nothing, having to watch Su Tangyu's every mood and beg for a scrap of pity. But why? She had wanted to replace Su Tangyu. She had wanted to be the princess admired by thousands too. She stared at Su Tangyu's current glory with jealousy, but when she saw the indifference on her face, Su Yaoyao felt a surge of triumph. She had fought for so long and she had truly taken everything that belonged to Su Tangyu. So what if everyone regretted it now? She had still won against Su Tangyu. As long as she played the victim, someone would soften their heart for her. She knelt on the ground and coughed twice. Finally recalling the pitiful tone she used to have, "Grandmother, elder brother Crown Prince, Lingmore Gidge, I was just muddled for a moment. I only wanted your love and affection, over all these years. Su Tangyu hasn't been hurt at all, right? You do truly care about me, don't you, Lingmore Gidge? Have you forgotten the joy of our night together? You even told me that I'm the one you love the most in this life." As she spoke, Su Yaoyao looked at Su Tangyu, trying to stir up the sorrow she assumed lay beneath her calm exterior. But it was the other three who reacted most violently. Shen Lingmore snatched the whip from the maid's hand and lashed it fiercely at Su Yaoyao. His brows furrowed in disgust. "We only pitied you. Who knew you were lying to us this entire time?" Su Qian also gritted his teeth in anger. "If you hadn't put on such an act, we would never have wronged Tangyu. You deserve to die." The Empress Dowager slammed her hand on the table, pointing at Su Yaoyao coldly. "Someone, I don't want to hear her voice ever again. Cut out her tongue for twisting the truth, then throw her into the water dungeon to suffer." Su Yaoyoro's eyes widened in terror. She never imagined they would be so cruel to her. She scrambled to escape, screaming, "No, no, Lingmore, elder brother Crown Prince, save me." Her pleas and cries fell on deaf ears. The three watched her coldly, determined to make her pay for all the pain she had caused Su Tangyu. Her cries faded into the distance, but a heavy silence still hung over the hall. Shen Lingmore's eyes were bloodshot. He finally mustered up the courage to call out, "Tangyu." When Su Tangyu turned her gaze to him, he knelt heavily on the ground, slamming his fist against the floor repeatedly, even breaking his finger bones without stopping. He whispered his apology. "I'm sorry, Tangyu, I was wrong." Su Qian also climbed to his knees, slapping himself fiercely in the face as he wailed in agony. "Tangyu, my sister, I'm sorry. Elder brother Crown Prince is so sorry." The Empress Dowager's eyes reddened too. She looked at Su Tangyu anxiously. "Tangyu, are you willing to forgive us? Su Tangyu stared back at the three pairs of hopeful eyes, remaining silent for a long time. Finally, she turned to Su Qian and asked, "When are you going to die?" At her words, Su Qian's eyes widened in disbelief. It felt as if his heart had been split in two. His already weak body could no longer hold on, and his eyes filled with despair. He thought, if Tangyu wants me dead, then Su Tangyu didn't know what he was thinking. She continued calmly, "You don't know when you'll die, but I know this. I died on a snowy night 2 years ago in my previous life, in unimaginable agony." The three of them trembled violently. Shen Lingmo, in particular, turned ashen-faced, his eyes filled with almost complete despair. He crawled forward on his knees, grabbing the hem of Su Tangyu's robe. "Tangyu, it's all my fault. I'm the one who killed you. I don't dare to ask you to accept me again. But I'm willing to drink poison, to suffer the same pain you endured in your previous life to atone for my sins. I don't ask for anything else, just please say you forgive me." "Okay." With that, Shen Lingmo pulled a jade bottle from his bosom and drank its contents in one gulp. He wanted to prove his sincerity, hoping to soften Su Tangyu's heart just a little. After drinking, he looked up, hoping to see concern on her face, but all he saw was her turning and walking away. Shen Lingmo knelt there dumbfounded, frozen in place. In that moment, karma had come full circle. Su Tangyu's retreating figure was eerily similar to the one he had left her with so many times before. Su Tangyu walked quickly out of the Eastern Palace. She had heard a whistle from Lu Jiao outside. As soon as she stepped out, before she could ask, Lu Jiao reported, "Your Highness, court officials are requesting an audience outside the palace. It's regarding the flood control in the southwest." Su Tangyu immediately pushed aside the wails of despair echoing behind her. Her expression turned serious. "Invite them to the council hall. I'll be there at once." Lu Jiao bowed to acknowledge the order. Just as he was about to leave, Su Tangyu remembered something else. "Is the first prince still locked in the cage? Tell him to behave and stop going on hunger strikes. Once I officially take regency, I'll let him return to Northern Di." "Yes, Your Highness." Perhaps the heartbreak of receiving no response to his confession was too much to bear. Only 5 days after Su Tangyu returned to the capital, she hastily took over state affairs and prepared to ascend the throne. Su Qian was now on his deathbed. The imperial physicians said only the divine doctor attending the emperor might be able to save him. He would be leaving for the imperial resort soon. Su Tangyu agreed to send him off for the last time, and even specially asked Su Yaoyao to accompany them. Su Qian had choked on his breath at the time, nearly dying on the spot, but he had managed to hold on. He rambled on, confessing his sins to Su Tangyu and teaching her everything he knew about governing the country. Before leaving, he ordered someone to force Su Yaoyao to drink a cup of poisoned wine, torturing her to death. As for Shen Lingmo, the poison he drank had clashed with the internal injuries and stagnant blood in his body. He had coughed up copious amounts of blood but had miraculously survived. He was sent back to the Marquis's mansion. The Empress Dowager was too ashamed to face Su Tangyu ever again. She shaved her head and became a nun in a small Buddhist hall, leaving a message saying she would pray for Su Tangyu day and night for the rest of her life. When Su Tangyu heard these news, she had no time to dwell on them. She was currently having a headache. "Why is the first prince refusing to return to Northern Di?" After she asked, the young, handsome Minister of Rights, who had just been promoted, replied with a smile, "Your Highness, that barbarian says he and Your Highness have already consummated the marriage. He is willing to become the imperial consort in the future, so he refuses to go back." Su Tangyu was stunned. She had never expected the first prince to be so bold. She asked instinctively, "What should we do then? If Your Highness is unwilling, you can issue a divorce letter to put an end to his delusions." Su Tangyu looked at the minister in surprise. She pondered for a moment, then was about to speak when a eunuch rushed in to report, "Your Highness the Crown Princess, a state letter has arrived from Northern Di." Su Tangyu's expression relaxed. She thought it was the first prince's subordinates coming to take him back, so she immediately ordered them to bring the letter in. But after reading it, she was shocked again. Both the second prince and the third prince want to come for a marriage alliance. The letter clearly stated, "We are willing to marry." Su Tangyu read it several times to confirm she hadn't misread, but there was no precedent for men marrying into another country for a marriage alliance. Su Tangyu turned to the Minister of Rights beside her. After a moment, she read the familiar two words in his eyes, divorce letter. She twitched the corner of her mouth. I'm not married to them. Just then, the Imperial Guard Commander Lu Jiao requested an audience outside the hall. The young, handsome military officer looked at Su Tangyu, hesitating for a moment before saying, Your Highness, all the flowers in the palace are in full bloom, according to tradition. We should hold a flower feast. How many young nobles shall we invite? She was the only member of the royal family left in the palace. Inviting young nobles would obviously be for her benefit. Su Tangyu felt an even bigger headache coming on. After thinking for a moment, she waved her hand dismissively. We'll discuss it later. With that, she stood up and walked out of the council hall. Taking no one with her, she just wanted to relax. As she stepped outside, she was greeted by a sea of blooming flowers, each competing for beauty. They mirrored the prosperity of Great Yang in its golden age.